We are live, Kenny Aronoff.
All
Hi, this
right.
is Vicki Abelson, and this is Game Changers, and I'm so excited to have you here, Kenny.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I feel like I've known you my whole life. You got that New York kind of attitude.
It's funny. The first day we connected, we talked like crazy,
Mm.
back and forth on like three different platforms. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We like
At about 3 in the morning, too.
right. We were the only two people on the planet alive. So, okay,
Yeah.
where is this place with these gold records, platinum records behind you?
Oh, yeah. I live in Studio City, California, and this is maybe 6 miles away going, north from Studio City. Yeah, and I just have 2 rooms, and plus, actually, I have 4 rooms. And then I have next door in another building is all my a whole bunch of other drums that I use for Fogerty tours, Joe Satriani tour, and sessions. I used to have drums in New York, Indiana, Nashville, and I moved everything out here. That's what happened. I just had to make a when the budgets when the record sales tanked, budgets tanked.
Right.
I saw the writing on the wall. It was either Nashville or L.A. I picked L.A. because L.A. offers so much. I don't want. I almost want to say so much more, but it's not just the music business out here. It's everything else. There's a lot of like entrepreneurs, a lot of businesses. Google's here. A lot of Silicon Valley's here. Everything is here, and so it's a. I felt like I want to be in an environment. LA is one of the heaviest cities in the world for cutting edge and new ideas, and so I felt like this is where I should be.
I made the same choice. We were bi-coastal for a while, and then
Yeah,
we had to make a choice to give something up, and we gave up New York.
yeah.
And LA is. I love LA. I'm sorry, I love LA.
Well, what's there not to like? Right now New York would not be a cool place to be. So LA, it's a crazy world, but people. A lot of my friends are splitting. The people that weren't making a lot of money in the music business had to leave because they couldn't play in clubs and do what they needed to do to get by. Some of the very wealthy people left because the tax situation. They're moving to like Texas, or they're getting a place in Nevada, or they're going to Arizona or whatever. I even have a friend who's very successful, and he moved to Dubai, and now he's in Indonesia. He's going to wait for 2 years before he decides where to go. But
Wow.
you know, I'm me. I'm just saying, you know what? Right now, it makes no sense for me to go anywhere. This is where I've got to be. Unless it gets ridiculous, and
So Kenny, let's talk about how you've handled. So 13, 14 months ago,
hmm
I imagine you had
Oh yeah,
a lot of work lined up that you were ready to do.
yeah. I was going to do a 21-week tour with Joe Satriani. I had done his record. It entered the charts at number 8. I was going to go on tour with John Fogerty, Creedence Clearwater guy, and then I have a band called Supersonic Blues Machine where we get Billy Gibbons to play with us. All that was booked plus sessions, and
Yeah,
and I had a lot of speaking engagements booked. And all of a
we're going
sudden,
to
that
talk
all
about that.
yeah. Well, I got into. I'll speak very briefly on that. That we can come back to it. But yeah, I started to build a business 6 years ago, which is basically inspirational or motivational speaking. My subjects mostly center around teamwork. Duh, I'm in a band. It's teamwork, leadership, innovation, creativity, adapt, adjust to stay relevant. The 3 C's, which you do when let's say I did an Elton John session. When I walk in, it's like I got to connect with the guy immediately,
Right.
communicate with the guy. That's the second C, and then finally, now we're going to collaborate. I can't make music with a guy that I have no relationship with, and he wants to have a relationship with me. Like when I did 7 years at the Kennedy Center Honors, and
We got to talk about those. Yeah.
That's heavy. But Dave Grohl walks in, Willie Nelson walks in, Chris Cornell walks in, Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, Lionel Richie. You get the drift. Steven
Absolutely.
Tyler. I get off the drums. I go right to each one of these people. Pretty much they all know me anyway because I've been around for so long. But the
Right.
point is, they are feeling a little bit funny walking into a room of these amazing, the best musicians in the country, and I go to them. They love it. Don Henley, I remember. I went to Don. He says, "Oh man, I'm so glad you're playing." He now had a friend. We connect. We just say a few words, and then when we're rehearsing, he can turn around, he's got a friend. That's why I call it the three C's: connect, communicate, collaborate.
I
And
love
so I talk about this stuff in my speaking. And the
Kenny, how did this start for you? You say 6 years ago. By the way, Ross Hogarth is saying handsome Kenny. How did this start for you? Because
uh,
I'm
yeah,
guessing this is something that's been going on for a long time in your life.
well, I think my autobiography, Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll, came out four
Mhm.
years ago, whatever it was, 5 years. But anyway, the point is, I started. I always, for 30 years, I did drum clinics, but you talk, but there's no script. It's
Right,
just I have a basic plan, but it's all improvising. But when I started, I got invited to speak about my book, and then I don't know what made me put together a show where I have a computer that has a deck, a PowerPoint, and pictures,
right,
and a movie, and then I have another computer that, well, now we do Zoom, and then I do have another computer that has music on it, and I would be able to use the PowerPoint pictures that would follow my script, and I put together a show, and then I got an agent. The agent actually didn't take me on right away. He said, "This is what you need to do." He says, "Most people think they can speak, but they can't. Most people think they can write a book, but they can't." He says, "This is what you need to do." I did it, and 3 years later, I came back and said, "I did what you told me to do," which was film me, learn. I got coaches. I did all my homework. And I came back, and he went, "Oh my God, I want to work with you. You did everything I told you and more, and you did everything at the highest level. Websites, to the point where I wasn't afraid after spending a lot of money and building a website with somebody. I didn't
right,
like it. I scratched it and started again. I mean, it was expensive. I mean, I paid
right.
the websites, filming me, editing, creating a reel, throwing that away, doing another one. Every aspect of trying to build this business, which, by the way, if you want to be successful at something, you got to work your goddamn ass to be successful. Because, and I say it in my book. I mean, I crush entitlement, lazy people. I don't have time for that. You cannot stay successful if you're lazy and entitled. You can't. And I don't believe everyone should get a trophy. I don't believe in coddling. Coddling's for babies. I believe in loving people when they work hard. Do your part. I do my part. Together we will co-elevate, which co-elevation is a term I learned from this guy Keith Ferrazzi, who I took a course on when the pandemic started. Keith Ferrazzi talks about co-elevation. And co-elevation is, let's say Vicki, you and me are on the same team. We're doing a business together. I I want you. I care about you. I really care about you to do a great job, and I care about you as a person. And I want you to care about me the
Right.
same way. And together, we care about each other, and together, we will do great work because we're co elevating
I
together.
love that.
So, in other words, let's say I'm making a record for Elton John. It's not good enough if I play the drums great. I need the bass player and the guitar player and everybody else to do a great job. Because just because I'm great doesn't mean it's going to end up on the record.
Right.
Everybody's got to be great. We have to co-elevate. So anyway, I started back to the agent. Then he started to book me, and I just developed this business. And with the pandemic, well, I'll get back to that question you asked. When the pandemic hit, I immediately realized, okay, there's no touring. That's done. I was wondering about my studio because the studio I created, this Uncommon Studios, when the record sales tanked, the
Right.
budgets tanked. I came to L.A. because I knew I had to be in a main city, Nashville, L.A., or New York. New York was done; they were done anyway. But the Nashville, I was working a lot, and I had drum sets in Nashville, New York, L.A., and I was living in Indiana because of the Mellencamp days. And when the budgets were there, they'd fly me all over the world. I had a drum
Right.
set in Japan, in Germany.
Wow.
People would fly me. There was money, first class, a rental car, per
Hmm.
diem, the best hotels. All that went away. So I went, okay. And I believe you have to adjust and adapt and take action to stay relevant. I talk about, adapt or die, which is a new speech I'm giving this week. Adapt or die. So when the COVID hit, that I already had that in me. in me, in my DNA, in my thought. I went, okay, tours are gone. I wonder what the recording business is going to be like. It was fine. Everybody's nothing,
Really?
in my studio. Now like the big studios where you charge, the big rooms get anywhere from 1,500 to, well, there's some that get less than that, but the big rooms like Henson and East West. I mean, in the heyday they were getting 2,000 a day,
Right.
2,500 a day, maybe 15. Uh, that all went away. That had already gone away quite a bit. And so that's why I had this studio, because I made it affordable for people to hire Kenny Aronoff. And so that didn't change. Because, see, music makes people feel good emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and even physically. Me, definitely physically. And so music was a really great component, even though we were doing it from a distance. People send me files. They've been doing this for years, ever since I had the studio. They'll send me their music. I tell them exactly what to send me. I load it into Pro Tools with my engineer. I record drums and send it back to them. And that's, kind of saying it in a nutshell. That didn't change. The speaking business, I lost a bunch of gigs. So I talked to my agent. The bottom line is, I took action. I adapted, adjusted, took action. I invested money, and I created my studio. I turned it into basically a TV studio. I've got 4 TV screens. I've got 3 computers going, 2 iPads. I got basically, there's 2 cameras, one in a speaking location, one in a drum location. I got a switcher. So I've got sound, I got lights. I brought in a guy from Entertainment Tonight to get the lights right. This was the long process of experimenting, learning, adjusting, and eventually I got a system going where I can do my show into Zoom. And my goal was to get set up and running in 2020 and then kick ass in 2021. Well, in 2020, in October, I got my first virtual speaking event. In January 2021, I got my second one. And I've got another one coming up, and I've got 2 or 3 booked, and it's starting to happen. And my point is that I did take action. I didn't sit and wait for shit to come to me. I made it happen. And it's so much, it's so good and so healthy for an individual to do something and accomplish something. Even if you don't reach the goal, it's the journey. There's the value in the journey, because you're learning how to survive, how to not wait for stuff to happen, make stuff happen. Even if it's one step every day, just one step. Because math, 0 equals 0. You do nothing, you get nothing. It's that simple. 0 equals 0.
Kenny, tell us like what a typical day. Give us an example of, because I have a feeling your days are packed with doing. You don't sound like somebody who's doing one thing in a day. What's your daily discipline? Do you have a time that you get up? Do you have a routine that you do when you get out of bed? What do you do?
Well, I mean, I have the 8 steps to a healthy life, which we can talk about in a little bit. But
Yes.
but the thing is that it's interesting you're asking me this question now, because I've had an insane 5 weeks. I was doing 10 to 13 hours a day getting my audiobook recorded here in my studio, but I also was writing charts for sessions, and I also was getting ready for all these different things. I'll give you an idea of what a day was last week.
Okay.
Okay, so I agreed, and I tend to say yes to everything, and then if I take on a lot. So I was going to do
Yeah.
this live show with this guy David Garfield. He's a great piano player in L.A. He's
Right.
always got the finest musicians, and he said, "Hey man, on April 8th, would you be into doing that?" And I'm like, at that point, I thought my audiobook would be way done, and I said, "Sure." So when someone says, "Ah man, we're just going to learn a few songs," it's never that simple, because for Kenny, it's not just kind of know it. I write every note out. Oh, I wish I had my charts here. I mean, every single note out. They're in the next room, but they're very, very detailed. I'm kind of known for this. Every note, and then I study it, and then I rehearse it, and I rehearse it, and I rehearse it. And in order to be great at anything, you got to repeat that thing over and over and over and over again. So it takes time.
Right.
So I'm doing my audiobook. Plus, I'm doing two other books. Modern Drummer is doing a Legend series, and they are doing one on Kenny Aronoff. Now, they're doing 19 transcriptions of 19 songs I've recorded. So, like Cinderella, to Mellencamp, to Elton John, to the Buddy Rich Big Band, Avril Lavigne, to Tony Iommi from Sabbath. I mean, it's all over the map. But I had interviewed with a writer 19 stories to go with 19 songs. They sent me what they had done or what he had done, and I basically rewrote it all because it wasn't right. So that takes a lot of time. Plus the audiobook, 10 to 13 hours. Plus I'm writing charts for sessions I have to get done. I'm working on a Joe Satriani record, which has got a timeline, and these other sessions. And then I'm learning this David, Garfield stuff. Meanwhile, I got a Fogerty concert in Cabo last Sunday, which was on the 12th. So I'm revisiting that. And even though I've done it for 26 years, I'm sorry, man. I had to practice my butt off to get back into the live fighting power approach the way I play. It's almost like I'm Tom Brady. I mean, I'm always training for the gig. It's a
Right.
365-day thing, and
Right.
so I had this one day last week where I woke up, I ran through the tricky Garfield songs in my home on a practice pad. Went to David's house at 12:30. We did a 3-hour setup and rehearsal. Then we did a 2-hour concert. Then I came here and recorded till 11 p.m. the Satriani record. Then I ran the Fogerty show from 11 until 1 a.m. Then I wrote 3 charts till 3 a.m. because the next day I had to get 4 songs done before I went to Cabo. Meanwhile, I'm thinking about this speech I have to deliver on Sunday. And there's the music component, there's my deck component, there's the speaking component, and I hadn't written one one word of that speech. So that was an extremely intense full
Wow.
day. But most of my days, I tend to go to bed at 3 to 4 a.m. and I wake up at 10. And the first thing I do in the morning when I wake up is I have water with a lemon, half a squeezed lemon, and then if I'm doing perfect, I'll do that, and then I'll have a glass of celery juice, and then I can't wait. I'm all amping up because I can't wait to have 3 shots of espresso.
That's like your one guilty pleasure, isn't it?
No, I drink whiskey and wine.
Okay, you drink whiskey and wine.
Yeah.
But so what's your eating like during the day, Kenny?
Well, I am definitely not a vegetarian. I eat like this morning. I had egg salad on gluten-free toast. I also had a scoop of peanut butter because and an apple. Now the sugar and the fat will curtail your hunger.
Mhm.
When you get fat, your body's craving sugar and it's craving fat. So that's why I did that. I have to be careful because I'm a nut junkie.
So am
So
I. That's why I can't lose weight. I've been eating so many nuts. I love nuts. Anyway,
exactly,
I know.
exactly, exactly.
They're killing
Oh,
me.
so if you and I got together, we'd probably bang our heads trying to get it into the peanut butter jar.
Oh, forget it.
You
And
know
sun,
what?
Trader Joe's sunflower butter? It's my favorite in the world. It's like the best.
Well, I'll
Oh,
tell you what. If when I come visit you, I'm gonna bring 2 jars of peanut butter for you and 2 for me. It's
I have
not
enough
just. It's
jars in
not.
my house.
It's not just. Oh, dude, when this pandemic hit, I got extra groceries. I loaded up like 30 jars of peanut butter because if the world ends, I want that peanut butter.
Oh God. And I eat it with an apple also. But okay, so here's the thing. Like I've cut that out the last couple weeks because,
Me too. I did the same thing. Exactly.
and then
I
I
get.
also eat a handful of pistachio nuts. And I don't think I can do that anymore either because that's killing me too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did the same thing. God, we are on the same plane because I gained 3 pounds. I went,
No,
yeah.
you gained 3 pounds. I have the COVID 13. I have to lose 13 fucking pounds. I'm losing my mind. I can't do it. And I speed walk every day and I do weights and I do all.
Well, okay. Well, when it's not coming off or it's going on, it's diet. So what I do? I'm the type of guy. I don't know about you, but I'm the type of guy that even in the middle of the night, if I go to pee, I look in the mirror to see if how my gut's doing. There's a rule of thumb for me. Make sure your tits, I don't care if you're male or female, your tits have to be in front of your stomach. I'm sorry. I even told my 95-year-old mom that. She just said, "Oh, Kenny."
Okay, so you eat a lot of vegetables.
Okay,
You eat-
yeah, now sometimes I'll do the protein shake too because I got a lot of protein. If I do a shake, I put in coconut, no dairy except for cheese. That's my cheating, a little bit of cheese, but no dairy. I'll use coconut milk with no sugar in it, and then I'll put the right protein. I've got this great
right.
protein stuff. I put a scoop of green food in there. I put fish oil. Really, really important. It's great for everything, even your hair, but not my hair. Um, but
I bruised from fish oil. I had to switch to flaxseed oil.
what?
Fish oil made me bruise.
Never heard of that in my life.
Yeah, I had to switch to
Wow.
flaxseed oil.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. So the omega 3 is like I got the omega 3 6 9. This is good for like 30, it's good for all your organs, your skin, your liver, your everything. So I put that in there and I put a blueberries. I put
And
a
in what form do you put fish oil in your shake?
well, I have a guy who created fish oil that tastes good. It's got an orange flavor to it. Yeah. I'll have to turn you on to it. He was like a badass chiropractor, doctor guy. Anyway, he created this. I can turn you on to it. And so yeah, and a cup of blueberries and a scoop of peanut butter. And
Ah,
yeah, because there's the sweet and blueberries are killer for you. So I didn't do that today because I had the eggs, apple, and peanut butter. Now, for lunch, I had a little more of the egg salad, 2 slices of Trader Joe's turkey breast, and some tuna fish. So protein, protein, protein. Um,
where's your vegetable in there?
I've got a salad in the fridge in my studio. Yep, and uh, and then it's really vegetables. I don't try to do too much fruit during the day, but if I get a sweet tooth, I'll go to figs or an apple, that type of thing. Um, and I'm just always thinking. Oh, by the way, I'm a supplement junkie too, so I've got a lot of stuff. Okay. Look, let's just get right to it. The eight steps to a healthy life for Kenny Aronoff.
There you go.
And I
Yeah.
call a healthy life is a wealthy life, or a wealthy life is a healthy life. And so this is my whole formula.
Okay.
And I have a gym in my house. So lifting weights, it's not just about, getting big biceps, but lifting weights, it makes you strong, yes, but it also elevates your hormone levels, or in my case, keeps my hormone levels up. Elevating your hormone levels also elevates your immune system. Okay, cardio. Cardio, it's the only way to exercise the heart.
Right.
Heart goes, you go. So, and and this also elevates your hormone levels, and also then
What do
elevates your
you do
immune
for
system.
cardio, Kenny? I have an elliptical upstairs. What do you do for cardio?
I have an elliptical, and I also got the new Nordic track. The whatever the two I. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can go on walks all over the world, every place but the moon. Uh, and then I have a full gym with weights. In my house, and yeah. And so then the third thing is, now we've talked now about endurance and strength. The third
Right.
thing is stretching. So I could do always better at that. But the stretching is some form of yoga, some sort of stretching. Anything to create flexibility. All
Is
right.
there an order that you do these three things?
No, like typically, if I'm going to do both cardio and weights, I'll do cardio first.
Okay.
If I'm only going to do one thing in the day, most likely it's going to be weights.
I can tell.
And I move fast through it. I know exactly because I had a trainer for a long time, and I'm not doing what I'm doing now is I used to lift much bigger and longer. Now I can do my whole routine in 20 minutes, 30 if I want. But I go bam, bam. I do 3 different groups. Like I'll do flies. Everything is 20 or 25 reps. Flies, 25. Then I'll do my back. So you're sculpting your body. The back creates the V. The
Uh-huh.
flies, of course, like I said, gotta develop, keep the chest up there, and then I go to shoulders. Now that creates this. So the shoulder. And by the way, this is me out of shape right now. Usually, because I've been traveling. But the shoulders. So I go bam, 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 bam. Rest for about 2 minutes. Then I go into bench press. A standard bench press with the bar and the dumbbells. Then I go into curls, and then I go into triceps. And now you've done 6 groups. Then I'll do squats. Now you've done everything. Now, if usually I'll do that whole thing again. And if I'm really going for it, I'll do it a third time. And then so
Is
that's
it
it. And,
more about the amount of weight you're doing or the amount of reps you're doing, or is it both? What's the formula there?
uh, you know, so I mean, it depends what you're trying to do. If you're trying to build like muscle mass and so that you can really see it,
No, I'm not.
you might be the weight that I need to bench press. I
Oh
probably
God,
could.
you'd be on the floor. You'd be passed out on the floor
No, no,
trying
I
to
wouldn't.
bench me.
No,
Oh.
no. Yeah. Well, maybe I could do it once. No joking. No, but yeah. So at this point, I like to do reps for endurance and strength, and it gives me size. If I wanted to get more size, then you go and you do 3 sets on one uh, type of exercise. Let's say if I was to do flies, I do 3 sets of flies, and I just keep going up in increments. And every set you do less reps because you're adding more weight.
I
And the true way of doing it is you go till exhaustion. So if I'm doing flies, you get to the point where you're like, you can't do anymore. Then you've really tapped, you've really gotten the most value out of that exercise. And then, man, there was a time where I was like, it was a little while ago, where I was so fit, it was ridiculous. First of all, it was even 4 years ago. My biological age was like 18 years old compared to other 18-year-olds. But I said to my doctor, but most 18-year-olds are fat and obese now, right? So anyway, but the point is that this guy, I was so fit when I was living back in Indiana. I would do that type of exercise, and when I was resting, I was boxing or climbing a wall or doing cardio. It never stopped.
How much time a day do you focus on fitness? Would you say?
Well, now the most is 30 minutes. Unless I'm doing cardio. If I do cardio, I do 30 minutes. And then I do weights, I'll do it in 20 minutes. But I'm so busy, man. I have to say, I got to get back to making that, you know, um, can't be hit or miss. But I naturally get real antsy if I start not looking the way I want to look or feel the way. Looking how I look is probably more important than how I feel. I
I
mean, I just, I
I
don't
get it.
know.
I
If I
get it.
don't like the way I look and it starts seeing, I'm like, no, 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 no. I get right to it. So I don't go very, very long and let myself get out of shape. So,
So wait,
eh,
Kenny. So let's say you put on the 3 pounds. What are you going to do to dial that back? What are you going to do
diet,
differently?
diet
Okay,
is
so
number one.
how is your diet going to change if you want to
Well,
lose?
you got to cut your fat and sugar out immediately. So, because I'm a nut freak like you, I got to cut that. I was getting to, if you're going to snack, nuts are not the worst thing to snack on as far as health, but
Yeah, but fat wise,
puts on weight. Yeah.
yeah.
So, the thing that I can cut, if I don't eat nuts for a week, I see the difference right away. You're eating nuts and you're doing cardio. You really focus your diet and cut out the crap and the sweets. And here's the tricky part for me. Because I go to bed so late and I might leave here at 2 in the morning, I
Right.
get home, I'm starving.
Yes.
And I eat, and that's the worst time to
Yes.
eat.
So what
But
are
if,
you eating when you eat in the middle of the night?
well, before I go to bed, shit, it's not good. I can eat a lot. I'll eat. All right, my big like bad no, popcorn from Trader Joe's. Bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Um, or rarely, but every so often I'll have some cereal. I don't even. It's like when I mean cereal, it's like like Cheerios with no sugar on it.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right.
But let me think. What do I do when I eat at home? It could be. It could even be just gluten-free toast with turkey breast with this is a great sandwich. Uh, Peanut butter, turkey breast, a lot of
Oh,
it.
yeah. Peanut butter and turkey?
Yeah, peanut butter. You got salt, and then a slice of apple.
Wow. I would never put,
Slice. Yeah,
wow.
because you've got proteins, you got salt and sweeten. What is it? Sugar and salt together.
I
I
love
like that.
the salt.
So I'll stack a lot of meat, but that's you shouldn't be eating at 2 in the morning.
I know.
You know,
So, and what is a typical dinner for you if you're being good?
oh, it would be like chicken, vegetables, uh, chicken and vegetables and a
What's
vegetable
your like
soup.
proportion? Because I have a cardiologist now. That's how old I am. He said it should be 70% vegetables, 30% protein. That's a hard ratio to get going there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not. I'm not probably. I'm probably flipping it, but
Me
he's
too.
right. That's
Yeah.
probably the way to do it. But God damn, I'm a meat guy. I was in Mexico doing a show with Fogerty, and I decided to treat myself to like an amazing dinner. So I had a gazpacho, a vegetable bean
Perfect.
soup. Yep,
Uh-huh.
it was great. The cook was amazing. Then I had a mozzarella and a zucchini thing hors d'oeuvre, which was unbelievable. And then my main course was a fillet and it was badass.
Mhm.
And I mean, I don't eat red meat often, but I love it. If I could, I'd eat it every day. I love it,
I
but
do.
it does make you feel a little heavy. And that night after the show, because I'd had the steak, I didn't really have that much afterwards. Which is kind of unusual, because I would after a show I would be typically very very hungry. Not right after, but maybe 2 hours later.
Do you carb up when you're playing the drums?
No, I try to. I don't change. I don't do anything different. I eat the way I do. What I might not do is eat a steak before I'm going to play a show
Right,
because,
right.
it's just heavy. Um, but I would eat like before a show, I might have a salmon with lots of vegetables and a
I was
salad.
just going to ask if you eat a lot of fish because I was told to eat fish at least a couple times a week, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I love fish. I love salmon,
Mhm.
and I love tuna fish too. You know what I mean? And I love I love fish. I love
So all right. So this is my big question with my new fish edict. Does canned fish count? Like, does
what
tuna fish count?
what it's fish, isn't it?
I don't know if it has like the same nutrients and stuff when it's in a can. I've been wondering about that.
Oh, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, nothing's as good as getting on the end of the boat and reeling it in and cooking. Have the grill going so when it comes, put
Yeah.
it on the grill. That's a whole different ball game. You Um. So anyway, we were talking about
The eight things.
lifting weights, cardio,
Mhm.
stretching. A diet is the next thing. So we've talked about that. The next thing is supplements, and because I work these crazy hours and I travel and I work 7 days a week, 7 nights a week, I'm not the guy. By the way, at the end of the day, the way I unwind is I'll watch a movie. From like 2:30 to 3:30 or whatever it
Right.
is
Mhm.
until I start falling asleep. That's just for me. I don't have to think about anything. It just kind of get lost in the movie. So anyway, these supplements I take in the morning, I get my vitamins out. I've had amazing ultra. It's a multiple vitamin, but it's made by Pure. Pure. This is all my doctor, my medical doctor, hooked me up to this, and this company is really good. You can get it on Amazon. Just put in Pure. Pure.
Uh-huh.
It's called Ultra Nutrient. If you just took Ultra Nutrient and took fish oil every day, you'd be rocking. So I take the Ultra Nutrient. You take one in the morning and one later on, and then I also there's a whole bunch
I
of
take
others.
like 30 supplements. Are you kidding me?
Oh,
I
okay,
do.
good, good.
No, but it's probably too much stuff. I take so much stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it
Yeah.
might be. I can't. Okay, I take a lot of vitamin. a big advocate of vitamin
Oh,
D3,
yeah.
which is a big immune booster thing.
Yeah.
And I take, when this pandemic started, my doctor said take quercetin.
Yeah.
Quercetin will surround your cells, protect it from viruses getting into your cell. You might get the virus, but it won't be as bad because it's not in your cells. And I take zinc. Zinc is for a man also converts, won't allow things to convert into estrogen as much. So for a man, that's great because you don't want estrogen. You want testosterone, and there's no lack of testosterone in Kenny Aronoff. That's for sure.
I get that. I get that.
Dude, I am
But
like,
too much zinc can affect taste and all kinds of things. And also, like I'm going to an eye guy now, and he
mhm.
said too much zinc for some people can be bad. And
Well,
so,
no, absolutely. And so I should back up and say, once a year I get a blood test, an executive blood test, as they call it. My doctor then will say, "Oh, okay, pull back on your zinc, pull back on your D." It's all
oh,
blood
good.
work.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the blood work tells, it doesn't lie. It
Right.
will tell you what you're at. Of course, it is a snapshot at the moment, but
Right.
so I use that as my reference, and I may even go to twice a year at some point, just to make sure I'm like, 'cause things can change fast. Um, so
What
and
kind
then
of doctor is looking at your blood work?
he's got two eyes, he's got a nose, and he's
No,
got
I mean,
teeth.
is it an internist? Meanwhile, if anybody
No,
tuning into this show would never believe I'm talking to a drummer, it's like this is like a health show.
yeah,
Um, so, what,
no. He
who's
he he was a regular MD, and
mhm,
now his specialty is TBI. Post traumatic PTS and TBI. He's a brain expert, and what he did is research. He's really big on research.
mhm,
Is that a lot of people? Let's take the obvious: football players, boxers, people in the military. You get traumatized. You get brain trauma from
right,
just those environments.
right,
You get pounded in the head.
right.
And if you take an MRI of the brain, you'll see it's pretty similar, all these people. But one thing I learned from him and from this documentary that I saw that he was involved with, I had no idea that emotional trauma shows the same brain scan.
Wow.
So, and I'll give you an example. In this documentary was the head fire chief from 9/11.
Yeah.
That guy was a mess,
I,
suicidal,
right,
traumatized,
right.
okay? Another person was a girl in the Navy who got raped, and then twice, and the Navy tried to cover it up. She was emotionally traumatized by it.
Uh-huh.
Now, what my doctor did, he handled her, and another doctor handled the 9/11 guy.
Uh-huh.
What they do is they take their blood,
Uh-huh.
and they see the trauma shows up in your hormone palette, or you can see that you're not balanced. There's some serious problems. The trauma shows up in your blood work. And
Wow.
so what my doctor does is he balances you out with, like, it might be testosterone, DHEA, vitamin D, whatever it is. He has a protocol that he does that will elevate and help. And I'm real good friends with this, ex a Marine, I think he was, and he was an explosive expert. He got blowed up, his body got, but I know him pretty well. I've had dinner with him, and he said that Dr. Gordon, my doctor, saved his life. He balanced him out, and he's on this
Wow.
protocol. The girl, she ended up getting all balanced out. The guy, the fireman, balanced out. Mark Rippon, the quarterback for the Washington Redskins, who I was a major fan of, he's in that movie. And from football and some other emotional trauma, he was suicidal. And he got saved by going to one of these doctors. It might have been my doctor even. And they do the blood work, and they say, oh, wow, we can take care of you. Now, like the military, what they usually do, and it's sadly, they just say, here's they give everybody the same packet of
Right.
of of supplements or medicine or whatever, but each individual is different, And you can only see that individual difference if you get a blood work done. And then you make the adjustments to the patient based on what they see in the blood work. And so this doctor is phenomenal. And so, you know, he's also into staying young, basically. So he looks at your blood work and says, okay, I think we need to adjust this. Pretty much, I'm always doing pretty good. But he, on your note, he did reduce my zinc. I was taking this amount and he reduced it because, And another interesting thing I like about him is like, so I take this pregnenolone. It's I take it at night, and I think it's a hormone, but you can get it through Pure. It's a natural. It's not you don't have to have a prescription or anything. And he said I was taking it. He said, your pregnenolone's a little down. I think you should double up. Interesting. If I take 25 milligrams of this, it makes me tired, which is great. It's kind of like makes you go to sleep. If I
Right.
take 2, I start speeding up. It's the other way.
Wow.
So I said to my doctor, he said, Kenny, the blood work tells me something. I tell you to do this, but the ultimate result and truth is, what is your body telling you?
Wow.
It makes you speedy, then you take 1, no matter what I say.
Wow.
And that is very cool.
That's very cool.
So
Did
anyway,
you find a difference when you started doing these supplements with him and the blood work? Did you notice a difference in yourself?
yeah, I lost all my hair, and I got really really pretty suddenly. No joking. I I I started with another guy in Indiana, and yeah, I did. I mean, he made it kind of was like I'd learned a lot of stuff from the trainers I've been with because really good trainers are very aware of diet and supplements.
Mhm.
And I always have trained with guys that were professional, they competed in, bodybuilding.
Right.
So they're very aware of the whole package. So I went to a doctor, and yeah, he was the one that opened, got me the best protein powder, got me the best green food. We do blood work. We started to discuss all this stuff, and we
Right.
added supplements. And so, yeah, that was the beginning. Then when I came out to LA, I had to find somebody to do that. It's got to be, for it to really work, it's got to be part of your life. It's got to be a part of your life. And exercise, you know, is and health is the number one thing. The 8 steps to a healthy life to me is the foundation to happiness, both mentally,
Okay, wait. I
spiritually.
don't think you gave us all 8. Give us the rest of the 8.
Okay, so after supplements, let's talk about water. That's number 6. Now, you can live for 40 days without food, but you can only live 3 days without water.
Wow.
Every organ in your body needs water. I'm a little bit sloppy on that, but you should drink half your body weight in water. So, yeah, I know. I
How
know.
is this stuff? How is like sparkling water that has natural flavors? Are those not good?
Well, nothing's as good as water.
Right. I know.
I used to think drinking beer is that. No. I've had 1 beer in 2 years. Why? It's fattening.
Right.
And I can you have to drink a lot of beer. Whiskey, you can only drink so much whiskey. I mean, So, if you want to wake up the next day and do what I do, so yeah, water is important. So I could do better in that department. But anyway, that's personal. The next thing is one of the most unhealthy things for a person is stress. All this stuff I'm talking about gets really taxed. In other words, all the supplements and no matter how you eat, if you're stressed bad, it kills all of that.
Absolutely.
So, how do you get rid of stress? Well, one of the biggest ways is some form of meditation. And it doesn't have to be what you think it is. It could be literally just put on some nice music, shut your eyes when you're stressing out. And another thing I do, which is a great exercise,
Mhm.
is which is very in right now, is breathing. And there's a guy called Wim
Very in
Hof.
right now.
It's very in. Have you ever heard of Wim Hof?
No.
Okay, check him out. They call him the Iceman. This is the guy. Yeah, the Iceman. Wim Hof. It's Wim, and I believe it's Hoff. This guy is a trip. This guy, and I did a speech with him. It was 20 of us
Huh?
many years ago, and he is able to do this breathing exercise that allows him to like climb Mount Everest in his shorts and a t-shirt. He
Wow.
swim the North Pole. Those aren't my goals, but what breathing does, it's a stress reliever. It's a stress reliever, and it's also gets rid of inflammation. So let's just take this out. Let's say in Africa there's an antelope or something, and a lion comes after it. And the antelope runs and gets away. First of all, when the antelope realizes it's about to get killed, can you
Yeah.
imagine the stress level on the antelope? It's way up to the roof. And then it gets away. Have you ever noticed how they go, and the animal will just shake itself? That gets rid of the stress. So the breathing, which is like that, you do that 30 times. And I mean big breaths. Let your stomach go out so you expand and do a real full breath. Not, but like full breath 30 times. And then you hold your breath. You let your air out, not all the way, but you keep a little bit in you and try to hold your breath for a minute. Okay? And
Wow.
then when you're done, yeah, I'm not great at holding my breath. So when I'm done, you suck in your air. So you go when you're done because you're gasping for air. You get a deep breath and you hold it for 15 seconds, and you repeat this 3 times. Except the next time you're supposed to hold your breath for a minute and a half, and then
Ah!
if you can, 2 minutes. But my
Okay.
point is, on the way home from the studio at night, I do it 4 times. 3 times through my mouth, 1 time through my nose. And through your nose, it does a whole nother thing with nitrogen, oxygen, whatever. It's a whole different thing. And this all affects your brain. It also, once again, is a stress reliever. Meditation, and I mean, there's all kinds of different things you can do. Sometimes there's an exercise someone taught me that you just do this. When you're stressing, you do this with your fingers. Just to calm and shut your eyes. Calm down for 10 minutes. Get rid of stress. All right, finally, number 8, which is, I have to work at this, is sleep. Sleep, yeah, not good. I'm the type, the ideal is to get 7, 8 hours. Tend to get 6, but I wake up about 80 times.
That's it. That's the
Yeah.
whole deal. Waking
I'm
up all night
I'm
long.
I'm basically a hot dog on a grill. I'm rolling, and then I roll that way, and then I roll that way, and then I roll that way. So, you know, yeah.
So what do you do to improve your sleep? How are you working on improving your sleep? Are you?
Well, I mean, ideally, you don't watch, the sleeping experts, and I know a bunch of them. You don't look at your phone, you don't look at the computer, you stay away from all that energy thing. And a good thing to do is you could meditate. Now, what I do when I get in bed,
Mhm.
I have this thing called Grace. Gracce. I created it. It's an acronym. The G stands for gratitude. I start thinking, I'm grateful that I'm in this comfortable bed. Or I'm grateful that I know Vicki now. Or I'm grateful that I'm a busy mofo and I just love work. I'm grateful, blah, 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 whatever you say. Then the A is I appreciate Vicki because she invited me on the show. I appreciate, and I go through all these different people that I actually love. And I just think, and this is all positive, beautiful energy. Then I go, see, no, R, I forgot R. R is respect. I'll go, first person I respect is me.
Wow.
Yes, yourself first. Respect yourself for who you are and what you do. I'm
Wow.
a I'm very hard on myself. It's just the way I was raised. I'm very, very competitive with myself. I'm a fighter. I'm not a fighter flight guy. I'm a fighter fight guy. And I've learned how to be very focused and disciplined. I have a saying, it goes like this: I'll never be as great as I want to be, but I'm willing to spend the rest of my life trying to be as great as I can be. And
Mm,
that is a running back in football. The greatest running back in the NFL does not score a touchdown every time. These guys are the most powerful athletes on the planet, but they spend their entire career focused on one thing: end zone. End zone. They break their leg one year, they recover. End zone. End zone. So don't focus on anything but your goal. End zone. And so when you respect yourself, it's very humbling because you could sometimes I used to when I was younger,
mhm.
would be which was just last year. Uh, you can be very critical because it's only natural. Think about this. Let's say I'm 18 years old. I've got my teacher screaming at me, no, your technique's wrong. And he's constantly correcting me. My coaches, when I was on a varsity sports, constantly drilling you. Your dad, mom, telling you what to do, what not to do. Your priest, if you're Catholic. Your rabbi, if you're Jewish, whatever. You've got people, you're young.
Right.
They're telling you what to do. Then they leave your life and you pick up from where they left off and you start telling yourself what to do. Now, to elevate to the next level in life, you've got to start to put that stuff aside. In other words, if I would ask you a question, if I was your life coach, I'd say, are you happy where you are in your career? And if you said, well, I've kind of, no, I wish I could go to the next level. I've been doing this. I've been pretty consistent for 20 years. If you want to go to the next level, you've got to change something because what has been working for you is not going to get you to the next level. You have to
Right.
get some new tools. So, one of the hardest tools that I had to learn was to respect yourself and to get rid of shame and guilt and I'm a bad person or I'm a loser. You gotta get rid of that because when you say those things, it's like I said to some really successful guy. He asked me a question and I went blah 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 blah, and then he said his head went down. He physically went down. He went, yeah, I've made some big mistakes and I've had some failures. I went, no, I can't believe I'm telling you this. No, you have not. You've had experiences.
Wow.
You've had experiences that have brought you to where you are right this moment. The difference from saying I'm a loser, I've failed, I've made mistakes, to I've had experiences. It's a whole nother vibe. It's like, you know, trust me, I'm the guy that's very hard on myself. But what I do now, it's called the judge. Everybody listening to me, here's the exercise. Observe how much you judge yourself and others.
Forget
We
it.
judge all day long. So
Yeah.
the exercise is this: when you judge yourself, go, up, oh, there's that judge again. See how I'm being positive? Judge, I think you should go away. And you start saying, and then you try to respect yourself and say, like, let's say I'm doing a drum track and I didn't get it right, which is rare. Just joking. So I didn't get it. No, if I'm so hard, remember I told you I'll never be as
Yeah.
good as I want to be. It's never as good as I want to be. So let's say I'm like, I got to stop, and I try to get complete takes when I play. I don't like to play. I want complete
Oh,
performances because they
oh,
sound different.
right.
So when I'm about to be hard on myself, see the problem with being hard on yourself. I mean, it's okay to, it's you can be determined to do better work. You can be focused on the end zone, but not from a negative place, from a positive place. That's the takeaway here. So the judge can sometimes make you, you suck. And then you start, ugh. And now you're playing with a different approach where I'm a bad mofo. I got this. I got this. You're a bad mofo, Ken. You're a human being. You're going to get this. You always have gotten this. Let's see, how many times have you gotten this when you thought you weren't? Oh my God, almost every time. All right, so you're going to get it and do a better job if you're in a positive headspace. Do you think the Jedi in Star Wars, you notice how they're always so cool? They're not so, they're just bam, bam, bam. And there's like all this destruction going on. That's what you want to be. You want to be the Jedi. You want to
Mm.
be the king that sits on the chair, or a queen in your case, that sits on your chair and goes, there's all kinds of shit going on. You got to make, everybody's depending on you to be cool and make the right decisions in the midst of adversity and battle and everything. It's your job, but we are the king and queens of our own realm right here. So you have to be the king, and you have to put that judgment person out of the way, that shame, that guilt, and go, this is not helpful to be there. I'm not going to get a touchdown if I'm negative. I'm going to get a touchdown if I'm positive. Now, some people might say, well, because I did this many times, you get
Mhm.
real angry and you can be, you can, you can be, anger is good, but over a period of time, it will wear you down. It's better to be positive and powerful than negative and powerful. That's
Mhm.
my feeling. So, yeah, anyway, I think that I don't know how we got from sleep to that, but the I think that the sleep. Oh, I know what it was. I was talking about grace. So I
Mhm.
got G, respect yourself. That's what we're talking about. That's
Right.
this is a tough one. All right, and A is appreciation, which I said. Now the two C's are this. The first C is compassion. Compassion for yourself and for other people.
Mhm.
You know, and you want to have compassion. Compassion's a tough one because sometimes we get so caught up in ourselves,
Mhm.
that you're not compassionate about what other people are going through. And I think this, even if you say the word like at night, at least you're touching it every day. Just like my 8 steps to a healthy life. If I'm aware of all 8 steps, it becomes a part of my life.
Right.
Even
It's
even
integrated. Mhm.
even if I'm bad at one of them, you want to be thinking about them every day. So compassion for yourself and for others. And the other C is, I call it's caring. I call it self-care. Self-care, I was not great at this. I mean, I take care of myself, but self-care is knowing when to get out of a bad relationship. Self-care is knowing when to remove yourself, to know when to remove yourself from a situation that's not good for you. Now, what made me successful, one
Mhm.
of the ingredients, is I'm a Navy SEAL. I am the toughest mofo on the planet. I will stay there till I'm not taking care of myself. I will last longer than most people. I'll go longer till it's not healthy. So I'm now, in the last couple of years, when I learned about self care, it takes more strength for me to remove myself
Mhm.
than to stay in. But I have to make this judgment. Am I going to be angry and miserable and frustrated if I remove myself? What's the better place to be? To go a little bit further and stay up till 4 in the morning, or remove myself and I'm laying in bed thinking about what I should be doing?
Right.
And I have to make that decision. That's self care. All right. So the E is empathy. And empathy that's a tough one, man. That's really understanding where somebody's at. I think that's what empathy is, empathizing with even somebody you can't even relate to, a person living on the street. I prefer not to, understand that because it hurts too much. But these are things that, if I say these in while I'm asleep, first of all, I notice that I don't usually I get to about C and then I start crashing. So these are all positive things, and that's what helps me get to sleep. I go through grace, my grace acronym.
Love that. I love that. I have an app called Calm, and it incorporates a few of these things. Some of the elements of grace. It takes care of breathing. It
Yeah.
does a bunch of that stuff. And so if I put on a Calm app, I'm going to be asleep 2 minutes in,
Oh,
pretty much.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
The thing is that, yeah, I tend to wake up after 4 hours.
Oh yeah.
Now,
Too.
I can tell you. Oh, you do too.
Oh yeah. Big time. I wake up
Yes.
a lot.
Yeah, me too. Well, it's a sign of higher intelligence and beauty, I heard. But maybe in your case, you got one. You got both. I got one.
So what do you do to go? So when you get up and like, I know the smart thing I can do is put that meditation back on and it'll put me back to sleep
Yeah,
instead of spinning or looking at my
yeah,
phone. Or do you
yeah.
not look at electronics when you're sleeping?
I try not to, but my thing is, if I read, I'll go back to sleep, and so a lot of times I just look at my phone. I know you're not supposed to look at the iPhone, but I'll
Right.
read the news, and that'll eventually put me to sleep.
Yeah. Especially lately, the news is a lot more boring without the idiot in the White House. So, okay, so let's get to drum. We haven't talked about like who you are as a musician at all. And
That's fine.
so, well, I mean, this other stuff is fascinating to me, and it's something that everybody can tap into. We all need help
Yeah,
with it, right? We all need guidance
absolutely.
and help with it because it's a struggle.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's get back to the COVID thing. It sounds like your life really hasn't been that different in COVID than it was before. Is that so? Other than
Actually,
the touring.
it's more complex and more stressful. Actually, when I'm on the road, everything is geared toward the show. I'm the type of guy. Let's start with wake up in the morning. I've got already have my vitamins laid out. I got my stage clothes laid out. I got my other clothes laid out. If we're gonna leave that night, like with Fogerty, we have a private jet. So if I have to take my, I'll go to. Well, if we're gonna leave that night, I have to have everything ready so that when I check out of the hotel, we're gonna go to sound check. We'll stay there. If we're not gonna check out of the hotel, we're gonna leave my stuff there. But I'm always preparing for sound check and the show. So I have a routine. And without getting into the details, I have a routine. I sometimes practice. I have a thing called, I have a 30-minute practice routine on a pad I can do in my hotel room. Moving, I always practice where all four limbs are going. My feet and my hands. It's called the functional practice routine because I have very little bit, time is such a valuable thing in my life that when I'm practicing, there's no bullshit. It's all regimented. I know exactly. I have a system down. I'll do it before sound check. I'll do it before the show, and sometimes I do it at
How do you
three or.
do your feet? If you're working on pads, how do you do your feet?
I have foot exercises that are doing literally on the floor. Can you hear that?
I do, I can.
So if I'm doing like I have 13 hand patterns I go through. Right, left, left, right, left. That's singles. Doubles. Right, left, right, left, or left, right, left, right. That's doubles. Then the paradiddle, which is right, left, left. That's a paradiddle. That's a rudiment, but it sums up the first four lines. Right, left is the first line. Right is the beginning of the third line. Right is the beginning of the second line. Left is the beginning of the fourth line. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. And I'll have three different foot patterns. I'll go through all 13 hand patterns with just my foot heel down, going boom, 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 boom. Those are quarter notes. These are twice as fast. Eighth notes. Da, 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 da. My foot's da, 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 da. Heel down to stretch the ligament. Then I do the left foot, same thing. But then I do both feet playing eighth notes like. I'm playing. They have to all line up with the feet. Then I do the same exercise with my heels up because I use both techniques. See, I told you it's functional. Everything I do has a purpose. Then it just goes on and on. Now, sometimes I do this at 3 in the morning and I'll get a text from the keyboard player. Kenny, is that you above me?
So now why would you do it at 3 in the morning? If your gig is at 8, why would you do it at 3 a.m.?
Because I'm Tom Brady. I want to wake up in shape. I
Wow.
want to wake up warmed up.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
but now that I'm home, when I was home, I immediately took 4 courses. As soon as the COVID hit, I took 4 courses. Two of them, I felt, two I went after. One was a writing course to help me be a better writer
Mhm.
and speaker. The other one was a teamwork course, a 21-day course with Keith Ferrazzi, who wrote this. He wrote the book where I talked about leading without authority, and this is where I learned about co-elevation. I was fascinated by this guy. I saw him lecture, and I went, bam! and I ended up having dinner with him. He lives close to me. Anyway, I took that course, and that also helped me with my speaking, gave me some ideas, and I liked his whole mind, the way it worked. And then I took a positive intelligence course that somebody suggested to me, and that's where I learned some interesting things about the going shifting everything from the negative to the positive, and you can actually see an MRI where you what it looks like with the negative brain and the positive brain. And I thought that was helpful in general, but also I apply that in my speaking and my just whenever I talk to anybody. And then there was a fourth course I took with a guy who's a guru on health and opened my mind to all kinds of new things in the health realm. Guy like Joe Dispenza. Have you ever heard of him? He wrote a book. This guy got hit. He was like riding a whatever. He was riding a bike on this on doing his bike exercise, and SUV hit him, and he was a quadriplegic, and he
Wow.
completely healed himself
Wow.
with his brain and his heart. Now, not everybody look at everybody has the ability to do that. He just happened to be. Uh, let's just look at a river that was full up, filled with junk. He was able to get rid of all the crap, and he actually did it.
Wow.
The doctors they didn't know what to say. I mean, this is not possible, but he did
Wow.
it. He literally spent the whole day focusing, and he was obviously focusing on the right things. And by the way, and I share this with people. If you want something, words are just ideas. Feelings are the truth. If you say I
Mhm.
want $1 million, but you don't really believe you can get that, you won't get it. How you get to the part where you really believe it, that's up to you. I'm still trying to figure that out. You can't. Words are just ideas. That's what I'm saying. It's like they're just ideas. It's like
How
writing
do
on a.
you translate your feelings into action?
Well, if you feel it, if I feel something, I can turn it into action. It's getting it so that you feel it and own it.
Mm.
And that is the trickiest part. I can't tell you the formula. But obviously, this guy Joe was able to feel it so much that he made it happen.
Wow.
He instructed his spine to reconstruct itself, and he did. So I'd never heard of this guy. So in this health course, that was just one of the few things I learned from this guy. So it was very enlightening. But I was taking 4 courses. My head was spinning because I was doing the courses. Then I was doing the exercise. And then I was doing sessions. And then I was working on this project and that project and this and that. And I was like, whoo. And
Okay, but
so,
practically, let's talk about the practical changes that COVID caused. Were you going to the store? Like I didn't go to a store. I went to Costco for the first time yesterday. I hadn't been in a store. I haven't been in a supermarket. Were you doing all of that during COVID?
yeah,
You are.
yeah. Well, my doctor said, he said you're going to be fine. You're taking quercetin, you're taking D3, you're washing your hands, wear gloves. I was very paranoid about, I had gloves on. The way I looked like it was airborne. I wore a mask,
Well,
if
it
I,
is airborne.
well, I mean, I like to the point where, a, a butterfly a mile away breathes on you, you're dead. I mean, I took it seriously, took my shoes off, wiped everything. I went and, washed my hands 8 times a day, always had a bar of soap. Even in my studio, I was wiping everything down.
And you're
Uh,
not doing that. You stopped doing all of that?
no, I wear a mask. I got the 2 shots. I didn't even want to get the shots. I probably wouldn't gotten it, but I didn't want to take a chance because I just flew and I flew another time, and I thought, you know, we really don't know much about any of this shit.
Hmm.
Um, but I spoke to a doctor, Dr. Heller, 85 years old, said, he's a big research guy. And I said, Doc, look it, should I or should I not? He says, Kenny, I would get the shot. I would get those shots. He said, I've done a study. 80 million people got the COVID shot, and 80 million people didn't get COVID so far.
Hmm.
Uh, and I have a couple of friends that did get it. They were a little overweight, and they're more susceptible. And he said, This guy and another guy who got it said, you don't want to get this shit. This hits every organ in your body. Anyway, I heard a couple of those things. I thought, you know what? I'll spin the dice on the shot, and I don't want to get that stuff. And probably I'm the guy who won't get it because I'm so healthy, but I didn't want to take a chance because it seemed like it's so unpredictable, really, what's going on here. Am I 100%? Oh man, I got the shot. That shot's just no. Who the hell knows? You
So
know.
what was it like when you flew last week? What precautions did you take?
Well, first of all, I made sure I was in first class, less
Hmm.
people,
Hmm.
so not as many because that plane was filled. The Delta flight wasn't, but the United was filled. So I was up front. Nobody was sitting. No, no, there was somebody sitting next to me. But they give you wipe really like strong ammonia or whatever it is, and I'm wiping everything down. I didn't wear gloves. Other times, the other time I flew, I did wear gloves. I have a mask on all the time, of course. I also in the Delta, I could go to the Delta Lounge, and I also got a COVID test the day before I flew, where I got the results back, so I knew I didn't have it.
Hmm.
Um, to the airport, I had a driver pick me up. We both wearing masks. I wipe things down, washing your hands all the time. I was a little nervous about being in Mexico, but they were very strict in Cabo about
Were they
everything.
wearing masks in Mexico?
Everybody, yeah, at the airport, and also I had to show paperwork that I had taken the COVID test to even get through. Not even security before you even get to security. Had to
Wow.
fill out a form. Had to show that I showed them that I had gotten the COVID test. No, it was when I was checking in at the counter. The-
Uh-huh.
I had to show them that I was negative, and they
And
went,
that
okay,
they didn't care about having the vaccine. They wanted to know that you'd been tested.
yes. That's
Interesting.
what yeah. That was a United policy, United Airlines policy. And so I had to, dude, it's like flying now, man. It's like, whew, you better check with the airlines and what the rules are. So, and I know a United pilot, a captain, and I know a Delta captain. So I asked them, and they say, yeah, that the the precautions are they were all saying it's okay to fly. So, yeah, and I do the same thing. Keep a distance at the hotel. Everybody's wearing masks. You don't have to wear a mask when you're eating, obviously, but everybody was wearing masks. Everyone.
Did you have people in your bubble, Kenny, when COVID started and everybody was locked down and everything? What was your life like? Did you see people in person? Did you not?
No, no. My basically it was home, studio, home. The only thing I did was grocery store.
Mhm.
Or that was it.
And
Or
has
if I went, huh?
it changed since then? I mean, other than going to Cabo, are you doing more things than you were doing before now that
No,
you're vaccinated?
uh, no, I'm not eating out yet. No, I do actually. When I go to Trader Joe's,
Hmm.
there's a Mendocino Farms
Hmm.
place there, so I'll get like a sandwich, but I'm eating outside. You know?
I've eaten outside for the first time in the last
Yeah.
couple of weeks. It's amazing.
So, but because I go from my home to my car to my studio,
Hmm.
I mean, that's what I would have done anyway. Except I didn't at night. I don't go to a restaurant and have a drink with somebody and be all smushed up. But basically, that's it. Or I'd go up. My buddy Steve Lukather lives right up above me. I'll go up there, and I started by he was real paranoid. We were masks, and then we stopped. But we're outside. We're keeping a distance. Let me think. I'm trying to think. Yeah, and occasionally I'd see some people, but not that often. It was like
Hmm.
you know what? I've been fine. It didn't affect me mentally at
I was
all.
going to say the loneliness didn't affect you at all.
Well, I live with somebody, so I'm married, so that helps. Um, and I didn't. No, I'm cool. When I'm here, at first I was really paranoid. There better not be anybody in this building, and then down the hall, just next door to me, is a buddy of mine has a studio, and he didn't come in for a very long time, so it was just me. It's perfect. Then eventually he did, wearing masks, everybody wiping everything down, keeping a distance. I mean, and then the guy down at the other end, he's got a studio. Everyone's got a mask on, but I noticed people are getting looser and looser. You
Mm,
know, you know. I didn't wear a mask into the building today, but I'm not near anybody. You know,
yeah.
but I got a
I,
mask
I
in
was
my
leaving the house today and I forgot a mask for the first time. And I was
yeah
like, what? And I like ran back in and I was like, because I'm getting more relaxed because I'm
yeah
double vaxxed and going into sitting outside at restaurants and doing things a little differently.
yeah
So, all right, we haven't talked about the music at all. We got to talk about the music before I let you go.
yeah
We got to talk about the music. So,
yeah.
so Kenny, you have had train. Oh, all right. So, what motivated you to be a drummer? I know the answer to this. I'm going to ask you some questions I know the answers to because everybody else might not. But what was that the first thing you wanted to do when you were a kid? What was the dream when you were a little kid?
Little kid was just be happy and have fun. So it was always sports and music was always. They have pictures of me with my diapers dancing, to the music. I could barely walk and I'm dancing to the music. So they were going, kid likes
Hmm.
music. And I have a twin brother, identical twin, so we were always playing sports. By the time I was a junior, no, a sophomore in
Mhm.
high school, I was a three letterman varsity sports guy.
What
I
was
was
your
on
sport?
I was badass lacrosse player.
Wow.
Yeah, that's big where you grew up, New York. Well, not the Bronx, but Long Island. So lacrosse, I was a tackman, so I was a big scorer. And then I was a downhill skier because there was snow where I grew up. And then I was
Wow.
soccer. So, but I was just a
So
super
was that the dream to be a professional athlete?
never,
No.
never. What happened was, so I'm just a normal kid, and then I'm playing outside with my brother. My mom screams at us to come in the house, and I thought I was in trouble, which was usually the case. And I'm the nicest kid in the world, but it was easy for me to get in trouble. I
What
just
sign are you? I don't know the answer to this. I think we talked about it once.
Pisces, Scorpio, Aries, Aries, Aries.
The
That's
Aries, Aries, Aries. I got all over the place. Okay, I'm
yeah,
Scorpio. Yeah,
yeah,
I got Aries.
yeah.
Okay, I
So
got you.
the Pisces, that's exactly what I am. The artistic Scorpio, which you know what that is, and then the Aries, Aries, Aries is the drive that
Yes.
pushes it through. So I I got in the house and it was the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. So when I saw that, I went, "The fuck is that? Holy shit! I gotta do that." I said, "Mom, I want to do that. Who are those guys?" She said, "The Beatles." I said, "Well, call them up. I want to be in the band. You got to call them up. Call them up. Call them up." I mean, that's what you ask your mom, right? And so she didn't call him up. I says, then I'm like, forget about the piano. It's drums now. It's drums. She says, I think you need to stay playing on the piano. I don't know if it was the next week or very soon after. I said, I'm not playing piano anymore. And I ripped up the music and threw it at her. And I went running around the kitchen table screaming, drums, drums, drums,
Was it
drums.
because of Ringo? Did Ringo do this to you?
It wasn't just Ringo. It was just the rock and roll. It was just like the energy. It was like, what? Oh, man, I was just going nuts. It was just, but I was drawn towards drums. It was just a natural connect. So she didn't get. I got a drum and a cymbal, and I started my own band, and we played Beatles music. I only had a cymbal and a snare drum. I couldn't afford anything else. I was gardening at 25 cents an hour.
Wow, yeah. Well,
Yeah, and so and then I just all through high school, grade school and high school, I played in bands, and it was time to go to college, and let me just jump. The cool thing is, 50 years later, I'm asked to do a CBS special called "The Night That Changed America," honoring the Beatles for the Ed Sullivan Show. I get asked to be play with Don Was in the band, and now I get to play with Paul and Ringo. I mean,
it's so crazy. I
come
know that
on. So
story.
it's
Yes.
awesome. But
Wow.
in between, what a lot of people don't know is there was a kid in my small little town, which was a very unique town, Stockbridge, with artists and very bright people. And the Boston Symphony Orchestra, 3 miles away. They had dance camps in the summer, Jacob's Pillow. They had theater, summer stock. I met, Ann Bancroft, Faye Dunaway, Frank Langella. Mel Brooks, all these people just would come up to this town I grew up. Norman Rockwell was the illustrator. It was just ridiculous. I grew up in a utopia. So um, this kid was getting
Were
better.
your parents artists? Is that why you were in Stockbridge? No.
No, but what happens is through the Berkshires, this is the mountains, but there was a big river that went from I, New Hampshire, Vermont, down through Massachusetts into Connecticut. It was called the Housatonic River. Back then, they had mills on these rivers, paper mills. And my dad worked for a paper mill. It
Ah,
was a division of Peter J. Schweitzer, which was a division of Kimberly Clark. And
mhm.
my dad was a chemist, salesman, and a research guy. And so they they chose this location, not knowing how amazing it was. It
Wow.
was this or Neenah, Wisconsin, which would have been a whole different ballgame. So, but they were into. I mean, on our turntable was jazz and classical and show tunes, like New Yorkers. They like my mom like
Right,
Barbara Streisand, Sarah Vaughan, Frank Sinatra was her Beatles, and
right.
so forth. And so I grew up with music, and they'd take us to see the Boston Symphony Orchestra and jazz and everything. I was going to jazz concerts when I was like 11 years old,
Well,
and the
mhm,
best, like Stan Getz and
mhm.
and Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald and Dave Brubeck and so forth. So it was all around me. And this kid was getting better than me. He was like in eighth grade or ninth grade or something like that. I said, "What are you doing? You seem like you're getting better."
Mhm.
Oh, I'm taking lessons from Arthur Press from the Boston Symphony Orchestra. And I'm like, fight or fight. Well, I got to do that. So the night before my first lesson, since I'm a jock, I'm hanging out with the cheerleaders at a party on the mountain. The cheerleaders, the senior football guys, the senior soccer, they liked us because me and my brother, we had long hair and we were like twins and we were like these super friendly.
Was your brother musically inclined as well?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were in bands together.
Okay.
So I go down, I take a bus down to Boston, which is a 2 hour drive, and this is how it went. Arthur Press goes, "What's your name?" "Kenny." "Kenny what?" "Kenny Aronoff." "Kenny, what have you prepared for me today?" I'm like, "Nothing." He says, "You haven't learned a marimba piece for me? You're not going to play me?" I said, "I've never played marimba in my life." And I'm going, "Yeah." "Well, you have a timpani piece for me?" I said, "No." You see, he taught at New England Conservatory. So he had guys that when they were their diapers were wanting to be in an orchestra. I'd give a shit about being in an orchestra. I just wanted to get better on drum set. So he says, "Well, what do you play?" I said, "I play drum set." "All right, let's come downstairs and let's see you play drum set." He put Chicago Spinning Wheels by Chicago on. And I started playing, and I know the song playing. He just 30 seconds and rips me off and says, "Go over there," and we start from the beginning. Now this was a moment where I could have gone, "I don't need that. I'm one of the most popular guys in high school. I'm a jock. I got a rock and roll band. I'm a rock jock. What is this?" But something went off and went, "Wow, I've never been around that kind of guy. I want to stick around and see what I can learn from him." So I studied with him in my sophomore year, junior year, senior year. In the summer, when he was up, I'd take a lesson every week, and he'd kick my ass, man. Whoa, my God. It was almost like whiplash. I mean, he'd be
I was
yelling at
just
me.
gonna say, this sounds
Oh
like
man,
whiplash. Yeah.
I remember him slamming me, and I do like 4 hour lessons, and I didn't practice as good as I could have for him, but it was good enough for me to get into college at a small university, University of Massachusetts. Well, this was no school of rock back then. Rock and roll was. I was a self-taught drummer. There was nobody could even teach rock. It was all new. So I get into this school, and man, I am behind, and I knew I would be because all these kids
Now, why are you behind?
because these kids were in the marching band, the symphony band, the high school bands, and I was like, fuck that. I'm in a rock band. Why do I want to play with a squeaky clarinet when I'm playing Jimi Hendrix and the Rolling Stones in a club trying to pick up chicks? I mean, this is like, come on. So, you know, so they were always trying to recruit me, but I didn't want to have anything to do with it. So these kids, they could follow conductors, they knew the music theory, they were way advanced. So that freshman year, I was freaking. I remember I was really felt like I wasn't the most. Well, I was popular, but I wasn't the best, and I was really felt insecure. And so
Mhm.
I started, that's when I started practicing till they throw me out of the building, 1 or 2 in the morning, trying to catch up, catch up, catch up. Now, the three top schools in the country in classical music, Indiana University, Juilliard in New York, Eastman in Rochester. Rochester's 5 hours up the road. So I said, Dad, I got to get out of this place. I'm not the best, but I want to be one of those three. Rochester's up there. I want to audition. So I arranged to audition. He drives me up there in the spring. I get in, but there's no room for me. They only will take 14 students because they want to make sure everybody's in an ensemble.
Is
And
it conservatory so that if you don't write, that you get cut? It's that kind of
yeah,
program?
they're
Mhm.
all very tough.
Mhm.
And so, and so I'm back at UMass. I'm going, shit. All right. This summer I'll study with Arthur Press, percussion, and I got an Allman Brothers band. And I was talking to this hot cellist. Well, as hot as you can be in classical music. But anyway, she was. I said, "What are you doing this summer?" She said, "I'm going to Aspen." I said, "What's Aspen?" She says, "The Aspen School of Music. It's an elite program run by Juilliard in Aspen, Colorado." And I'm like, "Ooh, Juilliard and her. This is awesome. I'm going to audition. Maybe I'll transfer to Juilliard and I'll have a great summer with her." You know, I'm thinking. And so I go, so I audition on tape, and they want you to audition in 3 out of 4 areas: timpani, mallets, multiple percussion, and snare drum. So I auditioned on all of them because I figured, well, I'm going to give them everything I can. I'm not the greatest. I'm kind of like still top high school level. So I send it in. I don't hear from anybody. So last day of school, I got my dad's car loaded up with equipment. Driving away from my dorm, went, shit, I forgot my mail. I go back and it looks like a check. I got accepted to Aspen. My thoughts are I was an alternate because you had to be there in 2 weeks. You'd think people would plan, and so I go and I'm nervous as hell. All right, I am the worst percussionist there by a long shot. These kids,
Oh,
oh man, these kids were there. A lot of them were from Juilliard. They had started at Juilliard Prep School. I mean,
wow.
these kids were badass. They were New York finest. You know what I mean? They
Wow.
were badass. I'm doing scales and they're playing 4 mallets and then all these other guys were great. I got my ass destroyed up there, but I hung in there. The teacher who taught there
Uh-huh.
ran the department at Indiana University, #1 school of music. I went, George, I'm going to Indiana. I saw the opportunity. This is it. I'm going to go to the top. I want to go to Indiana and study 4 years with you. That first year was just kind of a warm up. And he said, just come back in January. I went, no, I'm going from here to Indiana. He says, well, you have to audition for 4 departments. I says, well, how do I do that? And he was digging that I wanted it so bad. He said,
Right.
I'm going to want to teach this guy. This guy's going to work his ass off for me. And that's how I got into UMass, by the way. The teacher saw that I was hungry.
Oh,
Like when they have you sight read music. After you play your piece, they put music you've never seen before. They want to see how your sight reading is. Sight reading was horrible. So he says, that's okay. And I went, no! I grabbed the music back. I said, let me try it. I started learning the piece in front of him. He kept taking the music away. I said, no! I kept, and he went, well, okay. Yeah.
wow.
So George Gaber, the teacher, said, you know what? He came back the next day and said, there are 4 teachers from 4 different departments at Indiana University here. And so I auditioned and got in. Went there, spent 4 years there, worked my way from the bottom to the top, and he kicked my ass. I mean, I'll give you an example. Walk in for my first lesson. For some reason, I forgot a pencil and eraser. He said, you don't have a pencil eraser? He says, you get an F, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. It's like, and he was right, because every rehearsal, everything, I've always got a pencil pencil. I have a whole pencil case with erasers and stuff to write everything down because I can't remember. This is like I do the Obama inaugurations. 25 artists. You're doing with Beyonce, Josh Groban, Bon Jovi, Sheryl Crow, Garth Brooks, you name it. All these people, and you're rehearsing right up to the last second. You don't want to fuck up. Kennedy Center, same thing. You don't want to mess up. You got the President of the United States there. You're putting a Zeppelin you're honoring Zeppelin, and they're up there looking at you. Every note's written down. They're changing shit by the second. I can't remember all that. I remember doing John Fogerty. I was playing in Vegas, and I had to fly to Moscow, get off the plane, go into the Kremlin, start a rehearsal that night. The next day, rehearse 32 songs, film and record in the Kremlin, 50-year anniversary for this band. They were there for 10 days rehearsing. There was another drummer there, too. But I couldn't make it until the night before. I told them, send me the music, but if you change any arrangements, you gotta let me know. I write every note out. The whole way to Moscow, I'm rehearsing, going through and practicing count-offs, practicing everything, every note written out. I get there. I set up that night, we run through something, but they changed something. The next day, they had changed arrangements on every song and didn't tell me. It was insanity. I'm like, why didn't you can't, we have to film this tonight. You know what the answer was? The MD looks at me and he sees I'm like, I'm cool, but I'm struggling. He goes, Gandhi, welcome to Russia. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. Anyway, my skills that I learned at school really have paid off in the rock and roll world. Every year I was in Indiana
Did you know you wanted to be a rock drummer? Because from what I recall, you play like every genre.
Yeah.
And rock was not your first choice, as I recall. Is that?
Well, it was as a kid. Okay, now, so, and this is what it leads to. So every year, I'm very competitive. And so I want to be at the best school. Well, Tanglewood, with the Boston Symphony Orchestra, is the #1 student orchestra in the country, if not the world. I auditioned 1 year to get in, failed. Second year, sophomore year in Indiana, this is a summer program, failed, strike out. God damn it, I go back for a third, strike out. I go back for a fourth and I get in. Now that tells the story.
That's perseverance. That's persistence.
So not only is it the baddest ass orchestra, but I work with Leonard Bernstein, Sergio Ozawa, Aaron Copland, one of America's greatest composers, Arthur Fiedler. I am the premier orchestra. I graduate Indiana University. I get a job in Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra. And here is the pivoting point. I turn it down.
Wow.
My parents were like, what? My friends were like, huh? I was going like, holy shit. Here's what happened. My brain said, you spent 5 years getting ready for this moment.
Right.
My brain said that, but my heart was like, I want to rock, man. I want to be in the Beatles.
Wow.
So just to make a long story short, I went home, stayed home, humbly stayed at home now for a year, studying drum set, because they didn't teach that at Indiana University or at UMass, just the orchestral stuff. So I started studying. Now, once again, I'm trying to catch up again. I'm studying with a teacher in Boston, a teacher in New York, practicing 8 hours a day, playing in a couple bands. I moved back to Indiana. Everybody tells me to start a band. The business model was start a band, write music, get a record deal, record the record, go on tour. And after 2 years, we failed. It didn't happen. And everybody told me, what's in Indiana? You should go to New York or Nashville. Well, as I'm about to leave at age 27 to move to New York, I win this audition that I heard about this new guy that was on this new platform, MTV's on the radio, he's on tour. He's just opened up for Kiss, and he just fired his drummer the night before. And this singer-songwriter told me about this guy. I went, he wasn't my favorite music, but I'm thinking, wait a minute. Oh my God, he's touring, records, TV. This has been my dream. Long and short of it, it's John Cougar Mellencamp. I auditioned 5 weeks later. I'm in LA making a record. After 2 days of recording, I'm fired.
Whoa.
And the
Why?
reason why is because the producer had to get the record done in 8 weeks. And
Mhm.
he realized Kenny has. See, the purpose of a session drummer is really one thing, or any session musician, to get the song on the radio to be number one. That's it. So, whatever ideas you come up with, whatever you say, whatever you don't say, whatever you don't play, should all be geared toward one thing. How do I get that song on the radio to be a hit single? So,
Mm,
I have to learn to serve the artist, or the band, the producer, the engineer, the other musicians. It's not about me, it's about we.
right.
Not about me, it's about we. And I didn't know that. Because when you're practicing 8 hours a day, it's all about me.
Right.
Me. But now I had to learn the next way, the new way of thinking and being a team player. Well, here is a pivotal, very, very pivotal moment, a life changing moment. John is telling me we're at the Chateau Marmont on the third floor in a room, hotel room, and he goes, "You're not playing on the record." And he says, "I'll pay you for a week, and then you go home." And I said, "No, I ain't going nowhere. I'm not going anywhere." And the band was like, "Holy shit," because John was like kind of like a football coach, tough guy. And I'm sitting there going, "Okay, okay, okay, okay." I'm going like, "Hey, listen, am I still your drummer or what?" And he goes, he's all perplexed. He goes, "Yeah, but you're not playing on the record." And then I start struggling. I'm like, "Well, I'll go in the studio and watch those session guys play my parts on your record. I'll learn from them and I'll benefit from that. And you'll benefit because I'm your drummer, right?" Silence. I'm like, "Shit." I go, "All right, you don't have to pay me. I'll sleep on the couch or whatever." He said, "Okay." He didn't pay me. And I stayed there. I mean, I was ashamed. Felt like a loser. Felt like a piece of
That was
shit. You have,
very
yeah,
ballsy.
yeah, well, I was in a fight or fight mode. I didn't know that about myself. But what was happening? He was taking away that thing I had felt when I saw the Beatles, which is when I saw the Beatles, I realized at that moment, before I even knew what these words meant, what my purpose in life was. And the purpose in your life, like I said, purpose comes from your heart.
Mm,
Words are ideas, feelings are the truth. Truth and feelings are your being. In your being, your essence, that's who you are. There's where your purpose is. Follow that, and you will be unstoppable, authentic, and undeniable.
mm,
I'm the guy that
mhm.
can't wait to wake up in the morning and do what I do. But as you now know, I'm the guy that doesn't want to turn the lights off at night because I'm still digging what I'm doing. That, when you live by your purpose, you can't stop me. I am Superman. The only thing that'll stop me is kryptonite. I just keep going until I smartly go, you might want to just chill out for a second. The thing, because I want to follow those 8 steps to a healthy life. So when John said no, I was like, no, no, no. This is who I am. This is what I want. That was coming from my soul. My heart was screaming, no, 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 no. You can't take this away from me. And that's what made me negotiate and say, I'm not going home. And John said in my book that he was not blown away, but he respected me for
Wow.
that moment. Because in all his wackadoodle stuff in his head, he has a gift, and he saw that thing in me. So I did, and I learned a lot. I went home, felt like a loser, but I went home and completely shifted my whole way of. I realized I have to learn to play the drums to serve this guy's music. What is that? I figured it out, and then the rest is history.
Wow. Wow. So I don't even know where to go. There's so much music in your life. I don't even know where to go with that to
I can I
give
can help
people
you on
some
this.
pearls. Okay, go ahead.
Well, so I'm in a famous band. All
Mm,
right. Now, 2 years later, my goal was I'm gonna make the next record. That was my goal. You're gonna get on this record. I'm gonna redeem myself. It's like losing the Super Bowl or losing the season and you're coming back. All right. So it's the hardest record I've ever made. John was going through a divorce. He almost died on a motorcycle accident a week before we go into the studio. I didn't know he was about to lose his record deal. He was a complete, just so tense. He was like so hard on himself and demanded the same thing on everybody else. He was struggling because he thought he was going to lose his record deal for the second time. So this was not a fun record. I walk in one day and I noticed that the producer's got this metal box. I went, "What's that?" He says, "Oh, it's a Lin 1 drum machine." I went, "Drum machine?" I mean, this is 1981. There weren't that many of those. I'm like, "Those replace drummers." He says, I said, "What are we doing with it?" He says, "Well, John heard the Bee Gees using it next door and thought maybe we should try this on this song that we're having a real hard time arranging. Because we were young, we didn't know how to arrange a song, and the song was Jack and Diane."
Uh-huh.
So I grabbed the machine. Here I go, fight or fight. Adapt or die. I grab the machine, grab the manual, and I go and I figure out how to program what I was playing in the machine, hand it back to them, and I'm in the lounge going, "What the fuck's going on? I mean, are drummers going to be replaced by machines now? Is this the new sound? The Bee Gees using it. Now John's using it. Phil Collins used it in Air of the Night.
Right.
Hall & Oates had started using it, in the early..." I'm like, whoa, whoa. And then all of a sudden, 3 hours later, John wants to see you. I go into control room. He says, "Hey, asshole, listen, that's how it's... We need a drum solo right there after the second chorus. The machine's not cutting it." And I'm like, I'm ecstatic that I'm going to play on it, but I'm shitting in my pants because I realize if I don't get this, I could get fired. It happened 2 years ago. So the whole time we're getting drum sounds because John wanted the biggest drum sound in the world. Most of the time they used to record drums in like vocal booths, small rooms, because they could control the sound. But John wanted it in this big room, and nobody knew where to put the mics. Nowadays you can do it in 2 seconds, but we were inventing a new thing.
Right.
Anyway, the whole time I'm thinking, what am I going to play? What am I going to play that's going to sound great going through car speakers, TV speakers, the radio? What can I do to make this song get on the record and maybe get played on the radio? I'm thinking. Anyway, eventually it's my time to come in. So I am so nervous. So the first thing I did was the machine's going goosh, 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 ka, doosh, 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 boom, blam. And that's what I did. I went bass drum to snare drum, boom, blam, and stopped. Like, ta-da! And I look in the control room sheepishly, and everyone's going, "Yeah."
Wow.
And I'm thinking, I still got my job. So everybody goes down the drums, so I thought I'll go up the drums. I hit a dead end. I'm summoned in the control room. In my head, I'm nervous. I got half the people telling me what to play, the other half are telling me what not to play. And suddenly I went, "Kenny, you're all alone. It's up to you to save your ass." So I start heading out there. I'm like 50 feet from the drums. I'm like, "Dude, your career is coming down to right now 40 feet. What are you going to play? 30. I have no idea. 20. Kenny, it's now. 10. I don't know. 0. I get to the drums. I'm like, holy shit. What am I going to play?" And all of a sudden, I don't know, a light went off in my head. I went, all right, instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, let's keep the bathwater. No, I mean, keep the baby. And no, instead of coming up with a new idea, it'd be like this. If you had a room and there was furniture in it, you didn't like the furniture, you got 2 choices. Throw the furniture out and get new furniture, or rearrange the furniture so
Right.
it looks cool. I rearranged the furniture. So I thought I'll take the same beat I was playing, but I'll start it later. That's what I did. I started a little bit. Instead of boom, blam, ba, 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 I went boom, blam, 1, It was all off beats. And John went, "Whoa, hit a cymbal." Before I could even look up, I went, ba-da, boom. And then I went down the drums, kind of emulating Phil Collins. Do-do, 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 do-do. Ran out of drums, and then I added a triplet. Blah, boom, boom, boom. And they're all going, "Whoa!" And then Mick Ronson from Bowie's band was there. And he told John, "Have Kenny play a beat, and then you guys sing the chorus over it." So to make long story shorter, I came up with this beat, and boom, ba boom, ska, boom, ba boom, ska, and they all went, so let it rock, so let it roll, let the Bible Belt come save my soul, and all of a sudden, okay, all I know is I got through the day, and the song was now on the record. All right,
And you did
nine.
this all in the moment.
Yes, in the moment. Yes, that's in the moment. So after 9 weeks of hell making this record, I get home and I go, I did it. It's like going to Iraq and surviving. John calls me up 2 weeks later. Aronoff, Mellencamp. We only got 4 songs. I'm like, oh no. John fired 2 guys in the band during the session. Me and him almost got in a fist fight. It was horrible.
Oh my God.
Now we got to go back to the rehearsal, which was a bunker. We called it the bunker. It was like this little dog kennel built into the earth, and we would practice in there. And the bottom line is, we went back to L.A. 4 months later. The first song we recorded is "Hurt So Good." This is a great inside story. I didn't remember this, but my guitar player in the band told me, he says, do you remember the vice president came to see us and listened to our music? I went, yeah, I kind of had a jacket and tie, right? Yeah. He heard Hurt So Good and said to John, I don't get it, man. I don't see it. You should try to be more like Neil Diamond. John walked him to the door, kicked him in the ass onto the sidewalk. We lost our deal. But, but somehow we finished the record, and they started testing it on radio, and everybody was like, whoa, that's great. It tested so well. Got the record deal back, released Hurt So Good. It went flying up the charts. John made that record. He said, I want my record to blow the shit out of any song that comes before us and crush any song that comes after us. And that's what happened, because the drums were wicked loud. So it was like, ga do ga do ga do gaga gaga. It was like, whoa. And so that got to number 2 and just stayed there. Eye of the Tiger kept us out because
wow.
Rocky had just come out.
Uh-huh.
So we're there. And so it started to go down a little bit, and they tested the rest of the songs on the album, and Jack and Diane was getting the biggest response. We were like, they were going, really? Okay, they released it. Went flying up the charts, became a number 1 hit. John's biggest number 1 hit single ever. Hurt So Good wouldn't go down. It stayed up there. Now we have 2 songs in the top 10.
Nice.
John's career completely blew up, and all of a sudden, who's the drummer? All right. So we go on the Aha record, the Scarecrow record, Jubilee. We're flying in private jets. We're at the Ritz-Carlton. We're selling out Madison Square Garden. 2 nights in a row, L.A. Forum, blah blah blah. And then, a life-changing moment happened. John, at the end of the last show of the Jubilee tour, he quits. He said, I'm quitting the music business for 3 years. Fuck this shit. I'm like, now, he didn't, but when he said it was pretty believable. I mean, I was like, he means it. And I just gotten divorced, and I wasn't a member I was a member of the band, but I got paid like a salary.
Right.
Right. I just got a new mortgage. I did the math. I had 5 months worth of money to pay my bills after the divorce settlement. I mean,
Right.
5 months. I had sessions booked, but what I decided the next morning, I freaked out the first night. The next morning, I woke up and went, I've been working for one rock star for 8 years. Now I'm going to work for all the other ones.
Wow.
I went to LA, started doing sessions. I was calling anybody and everybody. And then a year later, Don Was hires me to do Iggy Pop. Don Was wins 2 Grammys while we're doing Iggy Pop for Nick of Time, Bonnie Raitt, and Love Shack by the B-52s. All of a sudden, everyone's hiring Don to be the to be the producer. He hires me. I'm doing Bob Seger, Bob Dylan, Elton John, and on and on and on.
How
And
did you break in with Don Was? How did that relationship
he,
start?
he reached out to me. He just called me up. He
Wow.
goes, and I thought he was a black man. He goes, "Hey, Kenny, it's Don. Don Was." He says, "How would you like to play on an Iggy Pop record?" I went, "Iggy Pop? Wow!" He says, "Come down and meet me at the record plant." I go down there and I see the three black singers. I go up to Sweet Pea. I goes, "Are you Don Was?" "I ain't no Don Was." I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry. Sorry." Woo! I go up, those guys over there are laughing their heads off. I go over to them, the white guys, and they're laughing. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, when is Don gonna get here? He says, "I'm Don."
Oh my God, that's so funny.
They're good. So he hired me, and and it just took off, and he loved it. You know, we've been working ever since. And um, so what happened was, what this comes down to is I became the session drummer, and I started to use more and more of all that discipline from classical training and being able to write charts out and read suddenly. And then the next blessing, which is amazing, which you touched on, which is very rare, that you're usually you're in a band or you're a session person, but
Right.
there's very few that do both. There's a handful that do both.
Mm-hmm.
Like a guy like Lee Sklar, who you interviewed,
Yes.
he does both, you know. And he's like me in this regard too. But it's even more rare you get somebody who can play all the styles of music.
Right.
That's rare. And
Right.
how do you do that? I have no idea. Don Was saw that I could, so he'd hire me to do the Highwaymen, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, and Waylon Jennings. That country drummer doesn't usually go on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins.
That's true.
And that guy doesn't usually end up playing with B.B. King and Bonnie Raitt. And that guy doesn't usually play with Ray Charles and then go and play and do a Tony Iommi record from Black Sabbath with Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple. And we
How
almost
did
formed.
you do that, Kenny? How did you cross genre at that level in all of those genres?
Well, I got lucky in many regards where Don Was would hire me to do all these different things, especially when he started doing these TV shows or these things where I'm playing with 25 artists all on one show of all genres. Like I'm the drummer for Willie's 60th. I'm playing with Ray Charles, Waylon Jennings, Sheryl Crow, I think, just everybody, Loretta Lynn, just everybody. And, and then they start to know who I am. And then people start to see that this guy's a reliable guy. He can play everything and he reads and it's all this stuff. And then the Kennedy Center on us, which was the Super Bowl of all Super.
Oh
I mean,
my God.
that is the premier gig. And I started to have relations in all these different genres. The Smashing Pumpkins gig is interesting. So to go on tour with Bob Seger, it made sense because it was sort of Midwest rock and roll. But while I was on tour with Seger,
Mm-hmm.
I heard that the Pumpkins were releasing Jimmy Chamberlain
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the Melancholy tour. So I went right to. I found out who the management company was, and they said send me a fax of a resume. And years later, they said your fax to us took our fax machine 40 minutes because my resume was so long, or maybe it was 40 pages took up 20 minutes. They were
Yeah.
like, and so that I never heard from them, but 2 years later I did. 2 years later, I get a call from Sid Bernstein from
Mm-hmm.
Prime Management. He goes, "Kenny, this is Sid Bernstein from Q Prime Management. We represent the Smashing Pumpkins." I'm like, "What? Smashing Pumpkins? A record? A record? A record? Am I going to get to record with the Pumpkins?" And they were my favorite band. Now, mind you, this was the biggest alternative band in the world at that time. So I says, "Record." He says, "No, but Billy, or we think that we would like you to audition for their Adore tour. That's going to happen this summer. Are you interested?" I says, "Are you kidding? Absolutely." He says, "Okay." He says, "The only thing I want to ask you is, if you get the gig, can you promise me that you'll say yes?" I said, "Well, I can't promise anything until I know what are the dates? When
Right.
is rehearsal? And when am I getting paid? I mean, I said, I can answer if I know some of that.
Yeah.
And so he said, what is your rate? I said, this is what I get. And he says, I said, what are the dates? And he says, I said, well, I'm not on tour right now. And so he said, I'll get back with you on the pay. He got back to me. He says, yeah, that's fine. So I learned every Pumpkin song. And right before I fly out from LA to New York to audition, I find out that Billy doesn't want you to know any of the Pumpkin songs. I'm like, I mean, I was practicing 8 hours a day.
Oh my
You know,
God.
I'd memorize. I wrote every song out. I'd memorize. I'd memorize 5 songs in one day. Then the
Right.
next day I'd go do those 5 again, and then
Uh,
memorize 5 more. Now I
uh,
have 10. Then next day I'd do the 10. If I had them down, I'd move on to the next 5, and I just keep
wow.
building. It
Wow.
was insane. And so anyway, I'm flying across the country. I get there. It's raining. I get to SIR. Billy doesn't even. It's like I get there maybe at 10 o'clock at night. Billy doesn't show up till 1, and he walks in. The Darcy's like in her own world on the phone. James is just shy and quiet. So I'm ready. Billy comes in really friendly, right to me. He says, "Kenny, Billy Corgan." I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you, man." He says, he's taking off his coat and he puts on his guitar. He goes, "Look, we already know how to play fast and hard. I want to play more like Pink Floyd vibey." He starts playing. So I go, cymbals, delicate. Add some toms, snare. I'm like, this has got to go somewhere. So I just start getting into the groove, and I'm like, go full tilt. Billy gets down, real low, and we're like connected. Darcy's looking that way, and James is looking that way, and I'm thinking, wow, these guys aren't really vibing off each other. And so, and that was the Pumpkins way, which I later found out. So then when we're done, I go, and this I think might have been what helped me get the gig.
Mhm.
I said, "Well, Billy, what is there anything else I can do to make it better for you?" He smiled because I look back. I go now after I knew him. I says, "Yeah, he's probably thinking, okay, I can work with this guy." So he says, "Just do more of the same." We played did it one more time, and I was out of there. And I was thinking, I didn't get this gig. I guess I'm touring with Fogerty next year. Yeah, this summer. I get to the airport and I get a call from Sid Bernstein. Sid goes, "Hey, Billy wants you to tour with him. He likes your playing." That was it. Bam. But if I had not faxed my resume in, and by the way, Sid Bernstein and Peter Mensch, they went and saw me play with Fogerty at Hammerstein in New York. And it wasn't an obvious match, but I think what I heard is they wanted somebody who was really solid, that could kind of ground, wouldn't not easy to work with, not taking drugs, not drinking, just somebody solid in the midst
Right.
of craziness. That's my speculation. So and so then people see me with the Pumpkins, and they see me on TV, and it just started to and I
Did
went
you ever
at
get your call, Kenny, when you went, oh my God, I can't, I mean, I imagine this happened a lot. I can't believe I'm going to get to play with.
yeah.
I mean, so tell me some of the heroes that you got to play with that like were mind blowing for you.
All right. This is okay. I'm doing BB King and Bonnie Raitt in the same day with Don Was. Air America. I'm like, I'm with fucking BB King. Oh my God. And I'm behind him. He goes, after a take, he goes, "Drummer, you're a bad motherfucker." Like, wow. The next day, it was Elton John. Next 2 days was Elton John. I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, that's Elton John. And I'm connecting, and he's funny. And he actually later on asked me to go on tour with him. I turned it down because I wasn't ready to leave Mellencamp. That's a whole story. So I was like blown away. The next day was 4 days with Bob Seger in the studio. And Bob was just so fucking cool. I was like, he's so nice. It was so badass. Then I flew to Athens, Georgia, and did the Indigo Girls. And they were like, that's folk music. They
Yeah.
never had drums on their records.
Mhm.
So I'm testosterone man. playing on their record for a week. And I mean, I just knew how to adapt, and kind of adjust. Then I flew back to LA and went right into a studio session with Willie Nelson, which is, oh my God, Willie fucking Nelson, with Don Was. And
Wow.
then I did 4 more days with Seeger, and then I did Blaze of Glory with Bon Jovi. Now, the Blaze of Glory thing was a trip. I get a call one day out of the blue. Kenny, John Bon Jovi. I'm like, woo! Like, what's up, man? He said, Kenny, listen, I'm writing 2 songs for this movie. Would you be interested in doing it? I'm like, are you kidding me? When? He said, I'll call you in 2 weeks. Calls me back in 2 weeks. Kenny, I got 4 songs now for this. This is really working out good. I'm like, even better. He said, I'll call you in 4 weeks. 2 weeks. He calls me in 2 weeks. He goes, Kenny, it's working out so good. I've written 10 songs for Young Guns too, and it's going to be a solo record. John Bon Jovi solo record. I'm like, oh my God. Every time you call me, it gets better and better. And then he goes, I'll call you in 2 weeks and we'll go over the details. Calls me in 2 weeks, says, Kenny, I got good news and bad news. What do you want to hear first? I went, what's the good news? He says, Jeff Beck is playing on the record. I'm like, oh my God, it's just getting better. What's next? Santa Claus? I mean, Jesus. And he's one of my favorite guitar players of all time. What's the bad news? Well, Jeff wants to use his drummer, Terry Bozzio. I'm like, bummer. Well, Terry Bozzio's a bad mofo. I mean, what can I say? All right, thanks. Have a good
It's
record.
been going on this whole time. This has been going on for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah. So I'm like really bummed out. I'm bummed out. He's co-producing it with Danny Korchmar. So Danny calls me up. Hey, Danny. Hey, listen, have your crew bring your drums to A&M at 9 a.m. on Tuesday. And you show up at 12. I'm like, Danny, have you talked to John lately? Yeah. I said, Danny, I'm not playing on records. I explained the whole thing. He starts laughing. He says, Kenny, Jeff Beck ain't going to be tracking with us. He doesn't do that. We track, and then he comes in and plays a solo once or twice. He's done. I went, oh, yeah, what an idiot, of course. How naive of me. He says, if Jeff's not there, Terry ain't going to be there. He says, and then I'm about to hang up. He goes, and by the way, you're the right guy for the record. Just show up at 12 o'clock, have your crew that. And so that was that. And then,
Wow.
dude, I mean, and then John was the nicest guy. We used to go to the movies with Jeff Beck. I forgot about that, except I was reading my book the other day when I was doing the audio, and he goes, yeah, Jeff, he says, I didn't know, I wasn't around my band anymore, so who do I hang out with? He says, I'm going to hang out with Kenny. He's fun. So me and John would hang out all the time. And he said, I forgot, because I remember now, yeah, Jeff liked movies, and he liked cars. Or, yeah, he didn't want to talk about music. So we were going to the movies all the time with Jeff Beck.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, those. I mean, there's so many. So many.
Like, how about like playing with the Stones? I mean, that has to be like
Oh
pinnacle,
God.
like, the
Yeah. So, well, there's 2 times I met him, but the first time I was working at Jackson Brown's studio, doing a record. I just called up Don. I just flew in from Indiana. Long nights, midnight or something, or 11. I'm tired. I said, Don, it's Kenny. He didn't pick up, but he calls me back, and he never calls me back. He says, hey, man, what are you doing? I says, yeah, I just finished the session. I'm headed to my hotel in Santa Monica. He says, you got to come up to the house. I said, why? He says, the Stones are here. I'm like, fuck, what's your address? And so I can't figure out how to get in. There's the house, and then I go down, there's a pool, and I pull a sliding glass door, and I walk in, and I'm like, holy shit, I walked right into vocals. It was Mick, Bernard Fowler.
Yes, I know Bernard. Mm-hmm.
Bernard, the singer. And it might have been the bass player who's auditioning. Anyway, I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, Don's so funny. He goes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Kenny Aronoff. So that was the first time. All right, the second time, this is crazy. he said, I called Don up. I was rehearsing with John Fogerty for the tour that was coming up. First time he was going to do the Creedence catalog.
Mhm.
And I, after the session, it's 9 to, no, it's 12 to 6. I had 1 hour to get to another studio, Rumbo, in the Valley. And that's where I was working with Roy Bittan from Springsteen's band. He
Mhm.
was producing. Don tells me, come by, and they're working with the Stones. Back then it was Ocean Way. So I show up at midnight. I walk in, and it's Keith. It's Keith's deal.
Right.
Mick isn't even there. He's got a lot of people always run. And there's Charlie Watts.
Uh-huh.
And Jim Keltner goes, "Hey Kenny, how you doing?" I said, "Oh my God, have you ever met Charlie?" I went, "No." He says, "Here's Charlie." I meet him, and Charlie smiles. And then Jim goes, "Hey Charlie, Kenny is a really interesting percussionist. He plays weird stuff. We should have him play on your record." Charlie was in the back in Studio 2 making a jazz record. Long and short of it is I start playing on Charlie's record, and he keeps inviting me back
Mhm.
every day.
Mhm.
Well, one day, this happened for 2 weeks. One day I walk in the second week. Holy shit, Mick's there. Everyone's there. Ronnie Wood's there. Keith's there. And they're all setting everything up crazy. Everyone's running around in the back room where Charlie had been doing his thing. What had happened was Keith would work on his stuff. Then Mick would work on his stuff on other days. Completely different styles of music.
Uh-huh.
And Don finally went, "Dude, you guys aren't the Stones unless you're playing together. Come on. You guys got to play together." So I'm there, and we're doing a song with the Rolling Stones. Charlie's playing drums. I got a gourd. I'm going to play percussion. Mick is there. Keith is there. Don, I think, might have been playing bass. Ben Montench from, Tom Petty's band. And it's 4 a.m. And this is the coolest thing that Mick or any lead singer could ever say. He comes up to me, and I'm going with Charlie's hi-hat. He comes up to me and says, "Hey, mate, I like what you're doing, but don't get in the way of Charlie's hi-hat." And I thought, wow, it's not about him. It's about what makes the Stones special.
Wow.
Charlie's one of them. Keith is one of them. And Mick.
Wow.
A lot of times the lead singer thinks it's all them. They don't give a shit about him. But he didn't. He gets it. Smart. And that
Wow.
made me really respect him. And later on, I was doing his solo record. It was the most, these are the situations I get in. I did 4 songs, just drums, me. And we're eating dinner. He's sitting next to me, right next to me. We're eating. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm eating with Mick fucking Jagger." Oh, oh my God. I was like a little kid going to the movies and seeing them on the Tammy show. And he doesn't even look at me, says, "Kenny, um, could you come by tomorrow and play drums on more songs?" I went, "No." I said, "I'm flying tonight on the red eye to Italy." Couldn't do it.
Oh, wow.
So I turned down Elton John, Mick Jagger, and there's somebody else huge I turned down. The Highwaymen, which is Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopher, Waylon Jennings, and there's another one. I'm spacing it out. Something really big. I turned it down, and I mean, sooner or later, that's what's going to happen. I couldn't, and not only could I not, it was a stadium tour with the biggest Italian artist, Vasco Rossi, and I'm telling you, he sold out 3 stadiums, 100,000 a night in 30 minutes. That's how big he is.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
And Mick is so classy. He knew who Vasco was. He didn't say a word. He just said, "Okay." That was it. So,
Okay, so I'm looking. We've been talking for over 2 hours, but I need to ask you one last question before we go, because you started out being a Beatle lover, and that's what got you going. Now you get to play with Paul and with Ringo. You got to tell me about that.
oh
About
my God. Well, first of all, I had met Paul when I was doing the Alice Cooper record. It was just me doing drums. I do 4 songs a day, and I'd write the chart out, very detailed, record the drums to tape, and then they wanted to dump it to Pro Tools.
Mhm.
So I'm on the phone while they're dumping it to Pro Tools. I'm talking to Don Was, and all of a sudden I see somebody's knuckles knocking. Says, "Come on in." Knuckles again says, "Come In walks Paul McCartney. I went, holy shit, Don, I gotta go. It's Paul McCartney. He says, oh man, the other guy was cooler. I said, the other guy's dead. I go walking up. Oh my God. And Paul, true story, man. He goes, hi, Paul McCartney. I'm like, no shit. Bob Marlette's laying on his back. He goes, whoa. He gets up. And now it's Bob and me, like, you know. And he says, hey, is Alice here? He said, no, he's not. The last time I saw Alice, it was me and my wife, and we went out to dinner with Alice, and he had his wife, and then Elton John was there, and there was some black guy who had a 26-inch cock, and we're like, I go, Bob, he said cock, and we're like little kids, like, he said cock, you think Paul McCartney would never say that,
Right.
and I'm like, wow, I'm like, okay, and he knew exactly what he was doing. He's funny as hell. He hung out with us for 45 minutes. They were next door recording. And I said, and I went, to change the subject, I went, dude, you guys are on the cover of Rolling Stone again. And you got this CD called, I guess, Number One or One. It was a red album. It was their hits.
Mhm.
And I went, that's amazing. He says, I was listening to that the other day and I thought, I wouldn't change a thing. I went, you think? Think? I'm like, wow. So anyway, now we're back now we're doing the CBS special. And not only did I get to play with Paul and Ringo, actually I played with Ringo 2 weeks prior. They were honoring him, the David Lynch Foundation was honoring him. So I got to play 3 songs with Ringo, which was unbelievable because he sounds like Ringo Starr with the Beatles. I mean, it's a sound, it's a feel.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I'm sitting there, and this particular TV show, Ben Montench convinced me not to wear glasses, and I regret that.
I'm going to talk to you about the glasses before we go. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was like, no, I look stupid, and I'm looking at Ringo like a little puppy dog, like, oh my God, I'm playing with him. And then the night before the Grammys, at the Grammys, I played with Ringo at the Grammys.
Wow.
And the Highwaymen at the Grammys. The next night, I did the CBS special. So we're at the CBS special, and before the show, it's me, Paul, and Ringo, and Don Was, and Ben Montench hanging out for like an hour.
Oh,
And and Paul's telling stories like, when we were, the Hamburg days, we thought we were old. We were smoking fags, and we thought we were old. They were like in their 20s, young 20s.
mhm.
He said a couple of stories. One was we went to a guitar shop, and the guy had a tie and jacket, and and Paul goes, "What's that chord you're playing?" He said, "Oh, this one. I think it was like a 6 minor chord or something." He goes, "Johnny, you hear that? You got to learn that. That's an amazing chord." He says, We learned it. He says, we used it in Michelle. Michelle, my bell. And he says, we never used it again.
Wow.
So I thought that was amazing. And he says that, in another story, he said, we came to America and we're going to the Ed Sullivan Theater and we're like, wow, there's a lot of people on the street. And the driver went, I think that's because of you guys. And there were cops on those big Appaloosa horses. I think that's you guys, for you guys. He says, oh, really? He says they thought they didn't think they were that big. And then they get to the Ed Sullivan Show, and right before he walks on, he says, can you imagine? The guy goes like this. He taps me on the shoulder and says, good luck, Mr. McCartney. 72 million people are watching you right now in North America. Good luck, and pushes him out. He says, can you imagine? That's not... So in that conversation, we're talking, and Ringo's hilarious. I wanted to reconfirm that story. I said, you remember coming into Alice's? He says, was that a joke? Yeah, was that a real story? Going, oh no, that was real. He still could have been pulling my leg, but he's just so funny.
Wow.
He's so cool. He's like, these guys are like, Paul and Ringo are just so up. And during the show, during the rehearsal, Ringo, when we play, Ringo's drum set center, and this was an example of a show where the visual had more dominance over the audio. You would think it would be audio.
What?
Not, yeah, because they split the band way, they separated the band way across. Like the percussionist and one keyboard player and the background singers were way over there. Then they have the big backdrop, and this is where the artists are going to be in the middle. And then we're way over here. Two keyboards, bass, Don and me, the guitar players, Steve Lukather and spacing out. Oh damn! And then and we're like, and Ringo goes when he comes to do his part. You're like, no, no, no. I need the band to be with me. He made Ken Ehrlich move
Wow.
all of us over, which I thought. He says, I play in bands. You know the Beatles? It's a band. I play in bands. So it was amazing. So after I played with 9 artists, I played with Ringo, Paul. I played with Joe Walsh. I played with Dave Grohl. I played with I played with Keith Urban. I played with Brad Paisley. I'm spacing some people out. After I'm done, I did a really good job, and I know if I wouldn't, but the way I handle a show like that is
Mhm.
I know exactly who I'm going to count off. I get the script of the show. I talk to the stage manager. I talk to the producer.
Mhm.
I want to know the flow of the show so I know when to count off and who to direct the count off to. And if it's all over there, I get their attention. As soon as one song's done, I've got the tempo blasting in my ear of the next song. Because you could go from 68, or let's say 102 to 103. There is a difference, but it's very subtle. So I've got the click going for 10 minutes as they're resetting the stage. And I'm practicing the count off. Now, with Joe Walsh, the song was Something, which goes 3, 4, bubba dubba dubba boom, bum, 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 bubba dubba boom, bum. And the tricky part is the toms have to be bubba da 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 da, very even, ba da 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 da, not bubba da 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 da. It's got to be ba 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 ba. And it starts with your left hand, but do ba ba boo ba. Crash with the left, switch to your right. All kinds of shit can go wrong in that. The
Huh.
whole time I'm going 3, 4, do ba do ba do do ba. 3, 4, do ba do ba do da do ba. 3 for 10 minutes. And when it was time to do it, 3, 4, boo ba do boo ba do boo boom boom. Spot on. Now, during the rehearsal, Joe Walsh has impeccable time and
Mhm.
impeccable memory because I played with him. He goes, what tempo are you playing? I think it was 63 or 64 beats a minute. He says, it sounds like it's too slow. So I had to make a decision. Because it's slow, I was kind of laying back. And I thought, I'm not going to speed the tempo up. I'm going to play more in the middle of the beat, right in the middle, and keep it crisp and see if that works. I said, okay, let's try this. I didn't, he thought I sped it up. And he went, yeah, that's it. So now I know what he likes. But during the show, is he one of the guys that what was at rehearsal was cool, but now it's too slow?
Mhm.
Or is he the type of guy who's going to want to speed it up? So I did it the way we did at rehearsal, but I watched him the whole time and I listened to his phrasing, and damn it, he wanted it exactly like the rehearsal. He has impeccable memory. And when he chooses that tempo, he means that's the tempo. Joe Walsh is way up there in phenomenal musician. You think about it, 3 bands: Eagles, James Gang, Joe Walsh. Not many people have done that.
I'll say.
So
Can
when I get done, but
Go ahead.
I got to tell you this. When
No,
I get
tell me,
done,
tell me.
I'm walking in the audience. There's 30 more minutes. And I'm walking in the audience to find my wife, and I see these elite seats. Tom Hanks, his wife. Ringo Starr, his wife. Paul McCartney's girlfriend. George Harrison's widow. Yoko Ono. Sean Lennon. Tom Cruise. Sean Penn. And what's his name? Johnny Depp. They're all there. And I know everybody. Tom, I know from doing that thing you do. And Ringo's sitting down going, bravo, Mr. Aronoff. Great job, Mr. Aronoff. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
I'm like, and I'm kind of worn out, and I'm at a humbling moment. I get down on one knee because everyone's watching, and before I could say anything, he goes, "That's okay. I'm already married." I mean, it's his humor. So I kept thinking, this is gonna sound stupid, but I said, "Listen, you've heard this a million times, and I know it's gonna sound stupid, but you're the reason why I play the drums. You're the reason why I play rock and roll. You and the Beatles set me on a course at age 10. I'm still on today." And I got up, and his wife was all teary eyed, like
Oh,
it was almost like they've heard it a million times, but it was sincere. It was authentic. Came from my heart. I walked away and I started thinking, in order to be really great at something, you have to love it. Because you have to love it so much. It's got to be your purpose in life. Because when it's your purpose in life, you could persevere through adversity, the bad days, the shit days, the okay days, the great days. That's when it really clicked. Yes, when I saw the Beatles, I realized what my purpose in life is, and now I just fucking told Ringo. That's when I started to understand what purpose is. That's when I put it all together. It was like, yeah, it's true. What I just said, I was like listening to my own words roll out of my heart, and I was like, wow, whoever just said that, that's really good wisdom. I mean, oh, I just said that.
you're filled with incredible wisdom, wonderful stories. Kenny, I have to have you back at some point because I know
Sure.
this is the tip of the iceberg. I know you've got stories. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, the ones you want to hear. I haven't even touched on.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sitting here dying to ask you about Sting and like a million other
Oh
people.
yeah, Sting. Jesus.
All right,
Kennedy Center on it.
all right,
Oh,
go ahead.
I'll do real quick. So, first of all, I played with Sting when we honored Springsteen. Then I'm playing with Springsteen and Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars and blah 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 honoring Sting. I write every note out. When I get ready for the Kennedy Center honors, I listen to the records, then I listen to the latest version, and then because Bruno Mars did police medley, I learn his way of doing it. Then I get to the Kennedy Center honors first day. Then the MD comes in with his charts, and I get his charts out. And the first song he calls out, I look at my chart and his charts, and went, holy shit, mine are different. So I can't write all my music out there. So I count the measures, and I start going letter A, letter B, letter C, so I can work off my chart. All right, we go through the rehearsal. Then the artists come in. Then they change shit. Like Lady Gaga's, let's try like this, different tempo, try this. So I make that. At night, I change all my charts, rewrite them, get them off it. Next day, we do a camera block. Now I'm talking to the producer, get the script, talking to the stage manager. I got the flow. They go like this. I got the tempo. Sort that out. So I crushed it with the Sting thing. Thank God. In the after party, this is great. Tom Hanks was being honored that night too. So the after party is exclusive. I'm walking in the room, and there's Tom Hanks holding court with Spielberg, Sting, Springsteen, everyone's there, and Herbie Hancock. Tom looks at me and goes, Kenny! He loves me. He loves me. He goes, Kenny, And then Spielberg turns around. Everybody turns around and looks at me. Sting comes flying at me, hugs me, and kisses me, and says in my ear, you crushed it. You
Oh,
killed it tonight. I, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I just said thank you, but inside, are you kidding me? He's one of the greatest musicians in the world.
of all time.
In the world. He says, you nailed all those parts. I'm like, and then Springsteen, he's more like, great job, man. That was really good. And um, so Tom is like going on. He says, yeah, I was up there with Rita. And I said, I think that's Kenny up there. It's going to rock because Kenny's playing. And I said, Tom, when they did that thing you do, which I recorded, I said, I almost grabbed the drummer and threw him off, but he was my student once. I couldn't. He says, you should have done it. I said, no, no. And I said, I got to ask you a question. When I did that thing you do, and Don once told me, it's a funny story. As I walked in after doing many takes, I never met Tom Hanks before, and he was kind of in the role he played in that movie as a manager. He says,
Right.
"Yeah, Kenny, nice job. I missed that beret." I'm like, "The fuck?" I look at Don. He says, "He's going." He says he's talking about the beret you wore in the Mellencamp video, ROCK in the USA. You were a beatnik, and I was up front. And he said Tom Hanks was inspired by that video to write the script for that thing you do.
Oh my God.
And Tom Hanks then said to Don at one point, "Hey, who you got in the session? Can you get a drummer like Kenny Aronoff?" He says, Don goes, "There's no drummer like Kenny Aronoff, so I hired Kenny Aronoff." And Tom, so I said to Tom right there, "Is that true that you were inspired by ROCK and USA?" And he said, "Absolutely." Now, either everybody's there listening, either he's telling the truth or he's just lying to make me feel good, because he's that kind of guy that would make me feel good. But that's the story, man, and I've heard it before. So anyway, that's an amazing inside little slice of life of Kenny Aronoff. And
So Kenny, what's with the glasses? Why the glasses always?
okay, so I'm the first show I ever did with the Pumpkins. I'm about to walk on stage at the Metro in Chicago. My kid was there, a big Pumpkins fan, and he saw that I had a black shirt and a big white yellow stripe down this sleeve and yellow stripe down this sleeve. And I said, "Nick, those are cool glasses." He says, "You should wear them. They match your shirt." So I grabbed them, put them on, and walked on stage. Next day in the Chicago Tribune, they're going like, "Kenny Aronoff, John Mellencamp's drummer, joining the Pumpkins. His glasses, his glasses, his glasses, glasses." I went, "I'm wearing glasses."
Wow.
And so I started wearing glasses, and then I shaved my head. It was kind of short, but I shaved it. I waited till I was in Europe, so if it was wrong, I could recover. And then all of a sudden, man, the glasses, shaved head, I got hit on 24/7. It was like, whoa, all right. Let's see, can I shave it even more? 5 glass. Anyway, it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. So, and then at a certain point, I went, this glass stuff is kind of getting stupid. So I took them off, and I got more shit when I took my glasses off. They went, "We drove 4 hours to see what glasses you were going to wear, and you're not wearing any glasses." And I went, "All right."
Wow.
Put them back on. So then it just started to become kind of the brand and the cover of the book and the whole thing. And I decided, and then I started not liking the way. I just think I look better with glasses on camera and on TV than not, and it became sort of my thing.
So if you're walking down the street in Studio City, are you wearing glasses? Yes. Always when you leave your house, you're always wearing glasses.
Night, day. I'm getting a little bit.
Doesn't it impact you? I mean, isn't it hard to like drive at night with your glasses on?
Well, if I have glasses that are that here, see, these you can see my eyes a little bit. See,
A little bit,
and I
yeah.
can see it's a little bit lighter, and yeah, yeah. At night I'll take them off, but I got to get I'm trying to get lighter frame glasses. Then the pandemic hit, so I didn't get them. Where they're more clear, maybe a little frosty.
Well,
This became my thing.
it,
You only see when you're on TV. You only see this. You only see my arms, my wrists, this. So this is prime real estate. And I'm not a hat guy.
no, you do. You wear it well. It all suits you. It's who you are. It's what we've come to know and expect. And you wouldn't be you if you took those glasses off. I'm sure that's true.
Yeah.
Kenny, I've loved every moment of this, and I really mean it. I would love you to come back because I know this is the tip of the iceberg. I know there's lots more stories where this came from, and I'm inspired.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch my peanut butter. I'm gonna talk to you maybe about that doctor and checking out the blood and the supplements. I like that whole thing.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Anytime.
much. Thank you so
It was
much.
fun.
It's been fun
I,
and inspiring, and you're wonderful. I adore you.
thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. See ya.
Take care, Kenny. Thank you.
Yeah.